Chapter 44:27. Yes. 10,000 people, almost all annihilated. Dong Qingyuan nodded. His voice was low and hoarse, showing that he was trying his best to control the anger in his heart. As soon as these words came out, the 9 monster emperors and all the monster kings felt a storm in their hearts. Although they weren't very clear about the specific situation of the Death God Legion, there was one thing that everyone in the Central Dynasty knew. Every member of the Death God Legion had mastered the will of Heavenly Tao. The 10th team had a total of 10,000. In their Kunpengsi region, all the monster kings added up were only 10,000. In other words, the combat power of a small team was comparable to their entire Kunpengsi region. But, even so, the 10th team was still annihilated in the Taboo Sea. Lord Dong, could it be that Qin Feiyang and the other 2 also have many powerhouses with the will of Heavenly Tao? A monster king asked. No. Just the 3 of them. Dong Qingyuan's eyes were spewing fire as he roared in a low voice. If Qin Feiyang and the other 2 really had powerhouses with the will of Heavenly Tao, then he could still figure out why the 10th team was annihilated. But the other party only had 3 people. No. There were also Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing, and Lin Yi. But even with these 3 people, there were only 6 of them. Just 6 people annihilated a small team. This was simply the greatest shame in the history of the Death God Legion. No way. Just a few of them annihilated 10,000 members of the Death God Legion. When the Monster Kings heard this, they couldn't help but look horrified. Just how strong were these people? It was simply unimaginable. This is what I'm going to tell you next. Facing Qin Feiyang, Madman Mo, and Golden Wing Wolf King, you must not underestimate them. It's no exaggeration to say that if given enough time, they can wipe out all of you monster emperors and monster kings in one fell swoop. Dong Qingyuan said in a deep voice. Hearing this, the 9 monster emperors and thousands of monster kings couldn't help but tremble. So this time we must eliminate them. Don't worry. This time, I have brought the entire Death God army with me. As long as we find Qin Feiyang and the other 2, they will definitely die. Dong Qingyuan sneered. I'll go. You brought the entire Death God army. When Qin Feiyang and the other 2 heard this, it was as if a bolt from the blue had struck their minds. What a joke. Even if the 10th squad suffered heavy casualties, the Death God army still had 9 other squads. Even if the 9th and 8th teams went to block the coastline, there were still 7 teams left. 7 teams. How shocking was this? And don't forget, the Dragon God and Kunpeng both needed Pinnacle Dominator divine weapons. Someone would definitely say that. Qin Feiyang's 3,000 clones could replicate all of the opponent's ultimate profundities. Furthermore, each clone could replicate thousands, or even tens of thousands of ultimate profound meanings. With 3,000 clones, wouldn't they be able to fight against the Death God army? But one had to know. Dong Qingyuan and the others also knew that Qin Feiyang had 3,000 clones. Could they let Qin Feiyang successfully activate the 3,000 clones and Eye of Heaven to replicate their ultimate profundities? Definitely not. Although the 3,000 clones and Eye of Heaven were powerful, they had to be successfully activated and replicated. If they were interrupted midway, they would die. Therefore, facing the Death God army, they absolutely couldn't take such a risk. This Central Dynasty really hates us to the bone. Madman secretly sighed. There's no other way. Who asked us to be so awesome? White-Eyed Wolf laughed. You are still proud? Madman was speechless. Now he was almost worried to death. Because, since the Emperor had sent this Death God army to follow Dong Qingyuan, and the other 2 to kill them, it was enough to prove the Emperor's killing intent. In the future, their situation in the Central Dynasty would be quite bad. In the sky, Dong Qingyuan was full of murderous intent. Kunpeng, Dragon God, also had bone-chilling cold currents on his body. When the 9 demon emperors heard that Dong Qingyuan had brought the entire Death God army, they couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Now, pass down my order. Let the sea beasts of the Kunpeng Sea domain track the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang, and the other 2 with all their might. Dong Qingyuan looked at the 9 demon emperors and ordered. Yes. The 9 demon emperors nodded respectfully. Following closely, Kunpeng, dragon god, and Dong Qingyuan flew towards Kuanping Mountain. The 9 demon emperors watched the 3 of them leave, then looked down at the demon kings below and ordered, "Take action immediately, but remember, don't go too far from Kuanping Divine Island." Yes. Thousands of demon kings nodded and immediately rushed towards the surrounding sea. "The 3 of you, can we discuss this?" Sea Lion Demon King retracted his gaze and secretly sent a message to Qin Feiyang and the other 2. Discuss what? Qin Feiyang and the other 2 were suspicious. "Take the opportunity to leave Kuanping Divine Island now. In the future, we will pretend that we have never met. I also beg you not to leak the fact that I brought you to Kuanping Divine Island," Sea Lion Demon King secretly said with a hint of pleading in his tone, because only in this way could he be completely safe. "About this, it's not impossible." Madman bared his teeth. Sea Lion Demon King was overjoyed. "But there is a condition," Madman said again. "I knew it wouldn't be so easy." Sea Lion Demon King almost collapsed. Madman secretly said, "Take us out of Kuanping Sea Domain." "What?" Sea Lion Demon King was shocked and secretly said angrily, "Are you planning to completely drag me onto your pirate ship?" If he really sent Qin Feiyang and the other 2 out of Kuanping Sea Domain, then there would be no chance of saving them in the future. In other words, at that time, he would be completely tied to Qin Feiyang and the other 2. "Why are you in such a hurry? As long as we don't expose our identities, who will know that you are the one who took us out of Kuanping Sea Domain?" "Don't worry. As long as we leave Kuanping Sea Domain, we will definitely not pester you. And I promise to keep this matter a secret." Madman solemnly transmitted his voice. "Promise? Why do I find it so hard to believe?" The corner of Sea Lion Demon King's mouth twitched. "Don't keep standing here. The other demon kings have already left. If we don't leave, it will be too eye-catching. Let's talk as we walk." Madman secretly laughed. Sea Lion Demon King's face was full of helplessness. He led Qin Feiyang and the other 2 out of Kuanping Sea Domain. "Don't doubt it. We have been together for so many days. You still don't believe in our character." Madman patted Sea Lion Demon King's back and laughed. "No. I have already brought you to Kuanping Sea Domain, which can be considered as fulfilling my promise. I will not take any more risks with you." Sea Lion Demon King shook his head. Not only Sea Lion Demon King, but the oath mark in Madman's body had also disappeared, because now they had indeed released Sea Lion Demon King. "So stubborn? Believe it or not, I will go find Dong Qingyuan and tell them that you have betrayed the Divine Kingdom," Madman threatened. Sea Lion Demon King was startled, but suddenly his eyes rolled and he laughed. "Sure. Go find them as long as you are not afraid of death. Still so arrogant. Fine. At most we will die together. No. We have 2 wills of the heavenly Tao. If we can't beat them, can't we run? It will be difficult for us to die even if we want to. But you might be so lucky. As long as we insist that you've already sided with us, do you think Dong Qingyuan and the others will let you go when the time comes?" Madman had a smirk on his face. "You. I have never seen someone as shameless as you." Sea Lion Demon King stared at Madman angrily, almost going crazy. "Didn't you see it now?" Madman didn't care about Sea Lion Demon King's insults at all. Sea Lion Demon King wanted to cry but had no tears. This was really 8 lifetimes of bad luck. "Let's go. You can't run away. It's easy to get on a pirate ship, but it's difficult to get off." White-Eyed Wolf laughed. Sigh. Sea Lion Demon King sighed helplessly and looked at the 3 of them. "Keep my word. If I take you out of the Kuanping Sea region, you will let me go? And help me keep it a secret?" "Of course." Madman nodded. "I don't believe you. I want Qin Feiyang's answer." Sea Lion Demon King snorted coldly and stared at Qin Feiyang. "Your sister? Am I so untrustworthy?" Madman was very unhappy. Sea Lion Demon King rolled his eyes. "Only a fool would believe you." Qin Feiyang laughed as he looked at the madman. He looked at the Sea Lion Archfiend and said, "I'll keep my word." "Okay. I believe you. Let's go, but be careful not to be seen by others." Sea Lion Demon King swept up the 3 of them and disappeared into the sea. avoiding the sea beasts and breaking through the waves like lightning. Now the 9th and 8th teams have blocked the coastline. Without the help of Sea Lion Demon King, it would be difficult for them to get away. Because the Death God army will definitely strictly check everyone who enters and leaves the Kunpeng Sea region. And with Sea Lion Demon King leading the way, it was different. As a Demon King, Sea Lion had a certain reputation in the Kunpeng Sea region. If the Death God army saw him, they might not check him. In the blink of an eye, a few days passed. These days, the Kunpeng Sea region was unprecedentedly lively. There were sea beasts everywhere looking for the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang, and the other two. Fortunately, Sea Lion Demon King was there. Otherwise, Qin Feiyang and the other two would have been caught before they reached the coastline. Above a small island, Sea Lion Demon King suddenly stopped and looked at the sea ahead with a hesitant expression. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang and the other two also stopped and looked at the sea ahead suspiciously. There was nothing. We will reach the coastline in half an hour, Sea Lion Demon King said. Isn't this pretty good? You will be able to completely get rid of us in half an hour. Madman was taken aback for a moment and laughed. I'm worried that it won't be so easy to get past the Death God army. Sea Lion Demon King was worried. Don't be afraid. Madman patted his shoulder and comforted him. The number of people in the two teams is indeed terrifying. But as long as we are determined to escape, they won't be able to stop us. You guys can escape, but what about me? I still have to survive in the Kunpeng Sea region. When the Death God army finds out that I am with you guys, won't I be dead? How about this? You guys go by yourselves, I will send you here. The Sea Lion Monster King looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two with a pitiful expression, as if he had been wronged. Chapter 44:28. Send someone to the end, send Buddha to the west. How can you give halfway? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Can I beg you? I really can't take this risk. The Sea Lion Demon King's face was bitter, and he was extremely depressed. What are you afraid of? If you want to do this, I think you can only be a Demon King for the rest of your life. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of disdain. If not a Demon King, what should I be? Should I be a Demon Emperor? I don't have the strength. The Sea Lion Demon King pursed his lips. You're useless too. A mere Demon King is already satisfied. The white-eyed wolf sneered. Contentment is bliss. The Sea Lion Demon King snorted coldly. Good attitude. I admire you. But what if there's this opportunity? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Huh. The Sea Lion Demon King looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. Was there really a way to make him a Demon Emperor? The white-eyed wolf asked. What are the conditions to become the Demon Emperor of the Kunpeng Sea region? The Sea Lion Demon King pondered for a while and said, one is to be appreciated by Lord Kunpeng, and the other is to master 8 ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws. The first condition depends on you. But the second condition, we can help you. You now master 6 ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws, right? We'll give you 2 more inheritances, and when you integrate them, won't you master 8 ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws? Besides, now that the Sea Python Demon Emperor has fallen into our hands, there's a vacancy. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. Hearing this, the Sea Lion Demon King's eyes lit up. Don't say it. This was really a good opportunity. He looked at the 3 of them and asked, will you give me the inheritances? As long as you can safely take us out of the Kunpeng Sea region, let alone 2 inheritances, even if we give you a dozen or 20 inheritances, what's the problem? The white-eyed wolf laughed. The Sea Lion Demon King's heart thumped. If he could get 2 inheritances, it was worth the risk. However, he was worried that the white-eyed wolf was bluffing him. Worried? Tell us, what law do you lack? We'll give it to you right now. The white-eyed wolf said. Really? The sea lion's eyes lit up. If he gave it to him now, he wouldn't have to worry about the white-eyed wolf going back on his word. My words carry enormous weight. The white-eyed wolf nodded. The Sea Lion Demon Monarch said, I'm missing the law of destruction and the law of karma. Then he grinned at the white-eyed wolf and said, it would be best if there was the law of light and darkness. Who was the one who said that contentment brings happiness? Now you're shamelessly asking for the laws of light and darkness. White-eyed wolf had a look of disdain on his face. Ha! The sea lion demon king laughed dryly. We definitely don't have the laws of light and darkness. We still lack them ourselves. However, the laws of destruction and the laws of karma are minor issues. After White-eyed Wolf finished speaking, he turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He secretly instructed Fire Lotus, and quickly took out the inheritance of the laws of destruction, and the ultimate profundity of the law of karma. Looking at these two inheritances, the sea lion demon monarch's heart was filled with joy. The inheritance of the ultimate profundity of the strongest laws was nothing to Qin Feiyang and the others. It was just a number. But for others, every ultimate profundity of the strongest laws was a priceless treasure. Just like the Sky Bell divine treasure back then. Not to mention the ultimate profundity of the strongest laws. Even if it was an ordinary ultimate profundity of the laws, everyone would risk their lives to fight for it. Take it. The white-eyed wolf grabbed the two inheritances and directly threw them to the sea lion demon monarch. Thank you, thank you. The sea lion demon monarch held the two inheritances with a face full of gratitude. He really didn't expect to be able to obtain such a fortune. The white-eyed wolf asked with a smile. Can you send us out of the Kunpengsi region now? Leave it to me. The sea lion demon monarch put away the inheritance and patted his chest as he vowed. You're really realistic. The white-eyed wolf was speechless. Previously, he even said that his mouth was dry, but this guy was unwilling. Now, after giving him two inheritances, his attitude immediately changed 180 degrees. The sea lion demon monarch laughed awkwardly and lowered his head to ponder for a while. He looked at the three of them and said, I'll take you to a place where you might be able to avoid the Death God Army's inspection. There's such a place? The three of them were surprised. I'm just saying that it's possible. Because this place is relatively remote. They might have missed it. The sea lion demon monarch said. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang suddenly came to a realization. He shook his head and said, Then your hopes will be dashed. Since Dong Qingyuan has already given the order to seal off the entire coastline of the Kunpengsi region, the Death God Legion will definitely not let go of any place. That's true. The sea lion demon monarch nodded, his brows tightly knitted together. The white-eyed wolf said, Why don't we take a detour and take a look? Maybe we'll be lucky and there won't be anyone guarding it. If they could avoid trouble, they would naturally try their best to avoid it. Yes, yes, yes. It won't waste much time anyway. The sea lion demon monarch nodded repeatedly. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. Follow me. After saying that, the sea lion demon monarch took a detour and flew to the west side of the coastline. Qin Feiyang and the other two followed closely behind. Originally, it would only take half an hour to travel straight. But now that they took a detour, it took them more than 4 hours to see the coastline. The coast in front of them was a cliff that was hundreds of feet high. Above the cliff was an endless dense forest. Splash. Rumble. The waves rolled over and slammed against the rocks, creating a deafening sound. Follow me down quickly. Suddenly, the sea lion demon monarch secretly shouted, and immediately turned into a stream of light, rushing toward a small island below. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other and hurriedly followed. The four of them landed on a mountain peak and concealed their aura. They used the vegetation in front of them to conceal their whereabouts, and then looked up at the coast again. They saw more than a dozen figures standing at the edge of the cliff. These people were all dressed in black. Their bodies were straight and exuded a shocking sharpness. If one looked closely, one would find that there was a sharp sword pattern on their chest. This was the symbol of the Death God Army. There are really people here? The sea lion demon monarch frowned. They didn't even let go of such a remote place. I told you they will definitely seal off the entire coast and won't ignore any place. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. You can still laugh? The sea lion demon monarch looked bitter. It seemed that it was impossible to avoid the Death God Army and enter the central dynasty without being noticed. It doesn't matter. It's just a dozen people. Just kill them. The white-eyed wolf sneered. Don't do it. It's different outside the Kunpeng Sea region. You can't open a space-time tunnel in the Kunpeng Sea region, and you can't send voice transmissions, so reinforcements are very slow. But it's different outside. Once you make a move, they will definitely call for reinforcements immediately. At that time, the rest of the Death God army will come here in minutes. The Sea Lion Demon Monarch hurriedly grabbed the white-eyed wolf, afraid that the white-eyed wolf would rush out on impulse. The white-eyed wolf frowned and asked, "Then what do you think we should do?" The Sea Lion Demon Monarch lowered his head and pondered. The madman suddenly said, "Why don't we activate the concealment art and enter stealth mode and sneak out quietly?" "You have such a method?" The Sea Lion Demon Monarch was stunned and looked at the three of them in surprise. "Yes." The madman nodded and glanced at the coast. He frowned and said, "But I'm afraid that they used the power of law to seal off the coast. This way, even if we enter stealth mode, we won't be able to get out." "Why don't we take a closer look?" Qin Feiyang asked. They were still a little far away and couldn't sense any aura. "Okay." The white-eyed wolf and the madman nodded. Qin Feiyang immediately activated the concealment art and led the three of them away from the mountain peak and silently flew toward the coast. "Can we really become invisible?" The Sea Lion Demon Monarch glanced around and was a little frightened. "Look at you. And you said you can take care of it. In the end, we still have to rely on ourselves." The white-eyed wolf snorted secretly. "I thought there was no one guarding this place. Who would have thought that they would be so strict?" The Sea Lion Demon Monarch smiled embarrassedly. "Don't explain. Anyway, we can't count on you. I think you should return the 2 inheritances to us." The white-eyed wolf said. "Don't. How can you take back what you've given out?" The Sea Lion Demon Monarch hurriedly protected the interspatial ring, afraid that the white-eyed wolf would snatch it away. The white-eyed wolf was speechless. Soon, they were close to the coast. At this time they were only a few hundred meters away from the coast. To them, a distance of several hundred meters was only a step away. "Can we really become invisible?" The Sea Lion Demon Monarch cursed. If they couldn't become invisible, at such a close distance, the members of the Death God army on the cliff would have already seen them. But now, these people all acted as if there was no one else around. "There's the aura of a boundary." The white-eyed wolf glanced at the void on the coast and his pupils shrank slightly. Although he couldn't see the boundary with his naked eyes, he could vaguely feel the aura of the law. It was obvious. The coast was not only guarded by the Death God army, but also blocked by the law healing skin. It seemed that sneaking out with the concealment technique would no longer work. "We can only rely on you." Qin Feiyang turned to look at the Sea Lion Demon Monarch and smiled. "Okay, I'll try my best." The Sea Lion Demon Monarch nodded and said in a deep voice, "Let's retreat first and fly over openly later, lest they see us suddenly appear and say that we're sneaking around, which will arouse their suspicion." Since they had already accepted the inheritance, they could only bite the bullet. "Quite smart." Qin Feiyang heard this and looked at the Sea Lion Demon Monarch in surprise. "Nonsense. I'm a demon monarch after all." The Sea Lion Demon Monarch smiled proudly. As a demon monarch, how could he not have a brain? When they retreated to the previous island, Qin Feiyang turned off the concealment technique and followed behind the Sea Lion Demon Monarch, flying towards the coast. Not long after, the 4 of them approached the coast again. The members of the Death God army on the cliff also immediately noticed them, and their eyes were suddenly filled with strong murderous intent. "Everyone, don't misunderstand. I'm the demon monarch of the Kunpeng Sea region," the Sea Lion Demon Monarch quickly said. "Demon monarch?" More than a dozen people were taken aback and looked at the Sea Lion Demon Monarch suspiciously. Obviously, they didn't know him. Chapter 44-29. Yes, I'm the Sea Lion Demon King. After saying that, the Sea Lion Demon King transformed into a sea lion that was hundreds of feet tall, and there was a dazzling divine light between his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 looked at the Sea Lion Demon King's eyebrows with a hint of suspicion in their eyes. "What's with this divine light? It's really a demon king." More than a dozen people looked at the Sea Lion Demon King's eyebrows, and the killing intent in their eyes gradually disappeared. This can prove the identity of the Sea Lion Demon King? What the hell? Qin Feiyang and the other two were very surprised and didn't understand what was going on at all. The Sea Lion Demon King transformed into his human form again, then pointed at Qin Feiyang and the other two and explained, "They are my subordinates." More than a dozen people glanced at Qin Feiyang and the other two, but they didn't intend to verify their identities. Because in their opinion, since they had already verified the identity of the Sea Lion Demon King, Qin Feiyang and the other two, as his subordinates, naturally wouldn't have any problems. "I seem to have heard that the 9 demon emperors have asked you demon kings to gather at Kunpeng Divine Island. But why are you here now?" One of them looked at the Sea Lion Demon King suspiciously. The Sea Lion Demon King smiled and said, "I'm going to visit a few old human friends." "You have human friends?" More than a dozen dark guards were surprised. "What do you mean by that?" "I'm a demon king who has mastered the will of the heavenly Tao. Is it strange to know a few human friends? Besides, you can ask around. Which demon king in the Kunpeng Sea region doesn't have a few human friends?" The Sea Lion Demon King looked at the dozen people unhappily. Ha! Hearing this, the dozen people were quite embarrassed. Indeed, although humans and sea beasts were not the same race, there were still many who had a good relationship. Some humans, sea beasts, or beasts were so close that they called each other brothers. "Hurry up, don't waste my time," the Sea Lion Demon King urged. Although the other party was a member of the Death God army, he was also a demon king. Everyone had mastered the will of the heavenly Tao, so there was no need to bow to these people. More than a dozen people looked at each other. Then, they looked at the Sea Lion Monster King with a hint of mockery in their eyes. "What is the meaning of this?" The Sea Lion Demon King frowned. "If it's any other time, we definitely won't meddle in your business when you visit your human friends. But this is a special time. It's a bit unreasonable for you to choose to visit your friend at this time." Now Qin Feiyang, Madman Mo, and Golden-Winged Wolf King have entered the Kunpeng Sea region. As the Demon King, shouldn't you stay in the Kunpeng Sea region to help? I think you're just pretending to visit your friends. Your real intention is to run away from your responsibilities and seek refuge. One of them snorted. "What nonsense are you talking about?" The Sea Lion Demon King was furious on the spot and said, "I just went to visit an old friend, and you put such a big label on me? May I ask what your intentions are?" "Then why didn't you go earlier or later, but now?" More than a dozen people looked at him mockingly. "You humans really like to meddle in other people's business. Fine. I'll tell you. In fact, I've already made an appointment with them to visit them today." Unfortunately, Qin Feiyang and the other two just happened to enter the Kunpeng Sea region at this time. The Sea Lion Demon King sighed. "Don't make such excuses. A dignified demon king actually ran away. After killing Qin Feiyang and the other two, we will definitely tell Lord Kunpeng about this." More than a dozen people mocked and ridiculed. Although their attitude was very unfriendly, at least they didn't suspect Qin Feiyang and the other two. "Do as you wish," the Sea Lion Demon King sneered. "Fine. Do as we wish. Today, don't even think about opening the barrier for us." The group of people smiled coldly. Although everyone had grasped the will of the heavenly Tao, as members of the Death God army, they felt superior from the bottom of their hearts, so they didn't put the Demon King in their eyes at all. "You don't want to open it? Fine. Then don't blame me for not giving you any face." The Sea Lion Demon King hesitated for a moment, and finally his face sank. His aura surged out as he prepared to break the barrier by force. "How dare you? This barrier is to prevent Qin Feiyang and the other two from escaping the Kunpeng Sea region. If you destroy it by force and allow Qin Feiyang and the other two to escape, I'm afraid you won't be able to bear the responsibility." More than a dozen people shouted angrily. "Don't use this to scare me. This prince is not someone who can be scared." The Sea Lion Demon King's eyes turned cold as he activated his 6 ultimate laws and blasted towards the barrier with a destructive aura. This beast is really difficult to deal with. More than a dozen people panicked and hurriedly stretched out their hands and shouted, "Wait, we will open it for you. Wouldn't it be better if you did this earlier? Why did you have to hurt the harmony?" Hearing this, The Sea Lion Demon King's attitude changed instantly. He looked at the dozen people and laughed. Then, with a wave of his hand, the 6 ultimate laws dissipated. More than a dozen people heard this, and a trace of contempt flashed in their eyes. A mere demon king was qualified to talk about harmony with them? If it weren't for the big picture, they would have killed him today. One of them waved his hand, and a barrier appeared in the void. Then a crack appeared in the void. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, the Sea Lion Demon King led Qin Feiyang and the other 2 out of the crack and landed on the cliff. When the 4 of them came out, the person who opened the barrier waved his hand again, and the barrier quickly closed. We've finally stepped into the land of the Central Dynasty. It's really not easy. Qin Feiyang, frenzied one, and the white-eyed wolf glanced at the endless mountains in front of them with a smile in their eyes. Now they could soar freely in the vast sky and high land. The white-eyed wolf glanced at the dozen people from the Death God army and secretly laughed. Old Qin, should we take this opportunity to get rid of them? Forget it, don't complicate things. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. At the same time, the Sea Lion Demon King also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he successfully left the Kunping Sea region with the 3 people. Although he offended the dozen people from the Death God army, when he thought of the 2 inheritances Qin Feiyang gave him, it was worth it. Thank you. The Sea Lion Demon King looked at the dozen people and smiled. He waved his hand and opened a space-time tunnel, leading Qin Feiyang and the other 2 into it without looking back. Dog. Isn't it just a beast? What's there to be arrogant about? The dozen people stared at the back of the Sea Lion Demon King and cursed in their hearts. In the sky above a mountain, with the appearance of a space-time tunnel, 4 figures walked out one after another. It was Qin Feiyang and the other 3. Qin Feiyang, frenzied one, and the white-eyed wolf curiously glanced at the mountains below. The mountains were majestic and magnificent. In the mountains, ferocious beasts were everywhere, exuding a terrifying aura. Outside the mountain, a huge city could be vaguely seen. The Sea Lion Demon King led Qin Feiyang and the other 2 to a valley below. Seeing that there were no ferocious beasts around, he looked at Qin Feiyang and the other 2 and said, "Let's part here and never see each other again." After saying that, he opened a space-time tunnel and turned to leave. "You're leaving just like that?" The white-eyed wolf looked at him playfully. "If I don't leave, should I accompany you to die?" The Sea Lion Demon King snorted coldly. "Are you sure?" The playful look in the white-eyed wolf's eyes became stronger. The Sea Lion Demon King turned to look at the white-eyed wolf and asked suspiciously, "What do you mean by that?" The white-eyed wolf said, "Returning to the Kunping Sea region is the real suicide." "Returning to the Kunping Sea region is suicide?" The Sea Lion Demon King was taken aback. If Qin Feiyang and the other 2's identities were exposed, he would definitely die if he returned to the Kunping Sea region. But now Qin Feiyang and the other 2's identities were not exposed. Why did the Golden-Winged Wolf King say that? It's okay. Don't worry. Think about it carefully. The white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly, looked at Qin Feiyang and frenzied one, and asked, "There seems to be a city outside the mountain. Shall we go and take a look?" Okay. The 2 nodded. Just as the 3 turned to leave, the Sea Lion Demon King hurriedly shouted, "Wait, can you make it clear? Don't just say half of it. It's making me anxious." He took a step forward and stood in front of the 3, looking as if he would not let them go if they didn't make it clear today. Chapter 44:30. You're really stupid. Madman sighed helplessly. Speak properly, others will attack you. Sea Lion's face darkened. You can't even speak the truth? Madman rolled his eyes and looked at Sea Lion. Brother Wolf means that Dongqing Yuan and the others will be found out sooner or later that you took us out of Kunping Sea region. When you were on the coast, you didn't expose your identity. How can you find me? Sea Lion was surprised. Madman looked at the sky speechlessly and pondered for a while before looking at Sea Lion. Let me ask you, will our whereabouts be exposed sooner or later? Definitely. None of you are good people. Sooner or later, you will cause chaos in the Central Dynasty, Sea Lion said. What did you say? Who's not good? White-eyed wolf stared angrily. How dare he scold them so blatantly? Sorry. My tongue slipped and I accidentally spoke the truth. Sea Lion smiled flatteringly. White-eyed wolf's mouth twitched and he kicked Sea Lion on the spot, causing Sea Lion to grimace in pain. Madman was also speechless. They didn't know each other for long, and this guy became so unscrupulous in front of them? Continue. Sea Lion looked at Madman and laughed dryly. Sorry, I'm not in the mood to talk now. Madman said indifferently. Don't be like this. Okay. I apologize to you. I'm not good, okay? The Sea Lion Demon King looked gloomy. Madman rolled his eyes and said helplessly, in the future, when Dongqing Yuan and the others find out that we have left Kunpengsi region, will they think that Kunpengsi region has been sealed by the Death God army? So why can we still leave Kunpengsi region? And without anyone knowing? Not only will they think, they will definitely investigate the reason. Sea Lion nodded. That's right. Not only will they investigate the reason, but they will also investigate the people, beasts, and sea beasts that left Kunpengsi region during this period. Madman said. The Sea Lion Demon King nodded thoughtfully. The Madman continued. Now is a special time. The Kunpengsi region has been sealed off. The Death God Legion that bears the heavy responsibility will definitely remember every living being that enters or exits the Kunpengsi region. Yes. The Sea Lion Demon King nodded again. Especially you. I think the Death God army has a special impression of you. Because you are a Demon King. With your status and strength in the Kunpengsi region, it would be difficult for them to forget you. And most importantly, you offended them before, so they will definitely remember you for the rest of their lives. When the time comes, once Dongqing Yuan and the others start investigating who has left the Kunpengsi area during this period of time, the Death God army will definitely think of you. This way, you will naturally become the target of investigation. The Madman smirked. The Sea Lion Monster King's eyes trembled when he heard this. You should be clear now. Once they find you, it'll be useless no matter how you quibble. Because the Death God army has seen with their own eyes that you indeed left the Kunpengsi region with 3 people today. Although we are pretending to be your subordinates, you have to know that Old Qin, Brother Wolf, and I happen to be 3 people. Today, you just happen to leave the Kunpengsi region with 3 subordinates. If they don't find you, they won't be suspicious. But once they have their eyes on you, they will definitely think that the 3 so-called subordinates beside you might be us. The Madman finished speaking in one breath, and then looked at the Sea Lion Demon King mockingly. The Sea Lion Demon King's face turned pale. How is it? Do you still dare to return to the Kunpengsi region now? The white-eyed wolf grinned. You. The Sea Lion Demon King came back to his senses and looked up at the 3 of them with a face full of anger. He thought that he had already gotten off the pirate ship, but he didn't expect that not only did he not get off, he was tied up even tighter. Do you think we will give you 2 inheritances for no reason? We are not such generous people. The white-eyed wolf laughed. You are human. How can humans be so shameless? The Sea Lion Demon King roared, almost going crazy. You still blame us? It's your own greed, okay? If you were more resolute when we were about to reach the coast and would rather die than send us out of the Kunpengsi region, we wouldn't have been able to scheme against you. If that was the case, as long as we kept our mouths shut, they really wouldn't have found out about you because the Death God army didn't see you. But you just had to be greedy for these 2 inheritances. How is it? Are you regretting it now? You really want to throw away these 2 inheritances? The white-eyed wolf chuckled. The Sea Lion Demon King glared at Qin Feiyang and the other 2 angrily. Don't wait for me. I didn't scheme against you. It was Senior Brother and the white-eyed wolf who schemed against you. Qin Feiyang expressed his innocence. Although he had already seen through the white-eyed wolf and the madman's thoughts, he really didn't participate. You guys are simply too much of a scam. The Sea Lion Demon King was so angry that he squatted on the ground and cried bitterly. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 looked at each other in dismay. Why was he still crying? No matter what, he was still a demon king who had grasped the will of the heavens, yet he was crying like a brat. How wronged was he? What should I do now? What demon emperor are you talking about? You can't even keep your life now. If Dong Qingyuan, Kunpeng, and the dragon god really find out about me, even if I have 10 lives, it won't be enough. A middle-aged burly man was really like a brat, crying loudly. This made Qin Feiyang and the other two feel a sense of guilt in their hearts. Suddenly, the Sea Lion Demon King raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two with tears in his eyes, saying, "You guys have to be responsible for me." This aggrieved look in his eyes caused Qin Feiyang and the other two to instantly have goosebumps. Responsible for you? Brother, you're just making things difficult for yourself. Hurry up and leave. Anyway, you've also obtained 2 inheritances, so it's not too bad. The white-eyed wolf quickly took a few steps back and waved his hand. What's the use of having more inheritances? The entire central dynasty is Kunpeng, Dragon God, and Dong Qingyuan's people. Where can I hide? No. If you guys don't take responsibility for me, I won't let go. The Sea Lion Demon King shook his head and hugged the madman's thigh, acting shamelessly. The corner of the madman's mouth twitched as he said speechlessly, "No matter what, you are still a demon king. Can you not be so shameless? We have already fulfilled our promise to let you go and give you the inheritance. What else do you want? Do you think I want to do this? I was forced by you guys. Think of me, a demon king who dominates a region, commanding billions of sea beasts. How impressive is that? Now, I've been cheated by you guys to the point where I don't even have a place to stay. I shouldn't have believed your nonsense from the beginning. Sigh. I'm still too kind." The Sea Lion Demon King sighed. Kind. The madman shuddered as goosebumps appeared all over his body. Another shameless guy. How about this? You want to find a place to hide and fuse with the inheritance in seclusion. At the same time, you want to see if they will trace it back to you? Qin Feiyang comforted with a smile. If I hide, they will definitely suspect me even more. Don't. If they find me, I won't even have a chance to ask for help. The Sea Lion Demon King kept shaking his head like a rattledrum. The madman said angrily, "Then what do you want? Do you believe that I won't kill you? I've done so much for you guys, and you still want to kill me? You are too inhumane. Doesn't your conscience hurt? Touch your conscience and ask yourself, are you still a human for doing this?" The Sea Lion Demon King said angrily. The corner of the madman's mouth twitched. This eloquence was quite amazing, cursing without using any vulgarities. All right. You can just follow us." The white-eyed wolf waved his hand impatiently. "You want to kill him, but this guy is crying and snot like a wronged little wife. You can't bear to kill him. But if you don't kill him, he is like a dog's skin plaster. You can't get rid of him." Really? You can't just say it. If you want to be responsible, you have to be responsible until the end. The Sea Lion Demon King looked up at the 3 of them. Damn it, I really want to beat you up. The white-eyed wolf clenched his hands. How is this a demon king? He is simply a scoundrel. The Sea Lion Demon King grinned and finally let go of the madman's thigh. The madman wiped the snot and saliva on his pants in disgust. Since you want to follow us, you have to be mentally prepared in advance. Because you know our situation. The entire central dynasty is our enemy, and we can lose our lives at any time, Qin Feiyang said. Then what can I do? At least there is hope if I follow you guys. But if I return to the Kunpeng Sea region, I will die. Let's talk about it later. Do you want to die? Of course not. You will definitely try your best to survive. As long as you can survive, won't I be fine? The Sea Lion Demon King chuckled. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This guy is smart, but he has been schemed against by them several times, and he doesn't even know it. But if this guy is stupid, how can he say such smart words? His intelligence is a bit incomprehensible. Let's go. Qin Feiyang smiled and flew out of the mountain with the 3 of them. The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at the Sea Lion Demon King with disdain. What do you two mean? I am a demon king. Do I have to be so disdainful? Go to the Kunpeng Sea region and ask around. How many sea beasts are licking my face all day long to curry favor with me? I can't be bothered with them. The sea lion demon king could bear it at first, but in the end he couldn't help it and said angrily, "Demon king?" The two of them sneered. "I have never seen such a shameless demon king." "Wait. There is a question. I am a little puzzled." The white-eyed wolf looked at the sea lion demon king's glabella and asked suspiciously, "Why did a divine light appear on your glabella when you changed back to your true form on the coast? And when the people of the Death God army saw this divine light, they recognized your identity as a demon king." "I'm not telling you." The sea lion demon king raised his head with a proud look. "Can you not be so pretentious at such an old age? It's disgusting, you know?" The white-eyed wolf was speechless. "I am happy to." The sea lion demon king snorted and moved to Qin Feiyang's side. He bared his teeth and said, "Do you want to know too? I will tell you secretly, but don't tell those two bastards." "Bastards?" Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. This demon king is getting more and more interesting. Chapter 44-31. It turned out that the mark between the sea lion demon king's eyebrows was called the demon king mark. The sea beasts of the Kuanpeng Sea region, as long as they became demon kings, would go to the Kuanpeng Island to find the ruler of this sea region, Kuanpeng, and plant a demon king mark between their eyebrows. This mark was hidden between the eyebrows and would not appear unless necessary. And once it was planted, it would never dissipate unless the demon king died. It could be said that the demon king mark was something that the sea beasts of the Kuanpeng Sea region dreamed of obtaining, because it represented extraordinary status and glory. In other words, the demon king mark was the identity token of the demon king. The white-eyed wolf asked curiously, "Do all the creatures of the Central Dynasty recognize your demon king mark? You actually eavesdropped?" The sea lion demon king glared at the white-eyed wolf angrily. "Get lost. Do I need to eavesdrop when you speak so loudly?" The white-eyed wolf's face darkened. "Even if it's loud, it's not for you to hear." The sea lion demon king snorted coldly. "Are you looking for a beating?" The white-eyed wolf's eyes turned cold. More and more? Was he challenging his limit? Seeing this, the sea lion demon king's attitude immediately changed. He laughed and said, "It's just a joke. You took it seriously. Are you bored?" The white-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. He was really a guy who knew how to take advantage of the situation. The sea lion demon king shook his head and said, "Actually, not all creatures recognize the demon king mark. After all, most of the creatures of the Central Dynasty are not qualified to come into contact with these things. So, only those with a little strength and a little status can recognize it?" The white-eyed wolf asked. "Yes." The sea lion demon king nodded and then said, "I don't dare to say anything else, but those who have mastered the ultimate profound of the strongest law will definitely recognize the demon king mark. It seems that your demon king mark can be our pass to enter the city." The ingrate raised his head to look ahead and chuckled. While they were talking, the city outside the mountain had already appeared clearly in their line of sight. The city was very big. It was equivalent to tens of millions of people. Countless powerful auras could also be sensed within the city. Furthermore, it could be seen that the city gate was heavily guarded. Every single person that entered or exited the city had to be interrogated by the guards. There were a total of 10 guards in front of the city gate. Every one of them was serious in speech and manner, and their expressions were extremely cold. "Why is there an interrogation? When I came here in the past, there wasn't any." The sea lion demon king looked at the crowd standing at the city gate, waiting to be interrogated. His face was full of suspicion. "Not in the past." Madman was slightly taken aback as he turned to look at the sea lion demon king. "Yes. That's because no outsiders have ever invaded the Central Dynasty other than you. So there's no need for such tight security." As the sea lion demon king spoke, he suddenly thought of something and shook his head. "No, someone is invading." "Who is it?" Madman was bewildered. Who else could it be other than them? "Qin Batian." The sea lion demon king enunciated each word clearly. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other, and suddenly realized that they were talking about this mysterious young man. However, he really had to admit that this young man was really powerful, because all the creatures in the Central Dynasty were considered the eyes of the emperor. If it was someone else, they would have been caught by the emperor long ago and chopped into pieces. However, this young man had been in the Central Dynasty for so long and still hadn't been found. The Sea Lion Demon King suddenly seemed to have thought of something. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he asked in a low voice, "There are rumors that this Qin Batian is your ancestor. Is this true?" "What do you think?" Qin Feiyang asked back. "How would I know?" The Sea Lion Demon King was speechless. If he knew, why would he ask? "Qin Batian is indeed my ancestor, but this Qin Batian..." At this point, Qin Feiyang's face was filled with helplessness. What's wrong with this Qin Batian? The Sea Lion Demon King was suspicious. Don't just say half the words. Isn't this deliberately leaving people hanging? Nothing. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. Seeing that they had reached the city gate, he turned his head to look at the Sea Lion Demon King and said respectfully, "Sir Demon King, please wait here. I will open the way for you." The Sea Lion Demon King's mouth couldn't help but twitch when he heard this. He said it as if it was true. Qin Feiyang pinched his throat, cleared his throat, looked up at the people in front of him, and shouted, "Get out of my way." Ha! As soon as these words came out, Qin Feiyang immediately became the focus of the crowd. The 10 guards couldn't help but be taken aback. They looked up at Qin Feiyang, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. "What are you still standing here for? Didn't you hear? Hurry up and get out of our way." Frenzy and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and shouted at the top of their lungs, "Who are you? How dare you be arrogant in our Green Wind City?" The others didn't say anything, but the 10 guards were extremely unhappy. "Who did you say was arrogant? Try saying it again." The white-eyed wolf stared at the 10 people, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. The 10 of them felt a sense of danger. Make way, make way." Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Frenzy walked in front with a cold face. They arrogantly pushed the people in front of them and opened a path for the Sea Lion Demon King. Presumptuous. The 10 guards shouted, and killing intent surged in their eyes. "You are the presumptuous ones. Do you know who is standing in front of you?" The white-eyed wolf snorted, full of arrogance. The 10 guards looked at the Sea Lion Demon King with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. One of the guards said with a sullen face, "No matter who you are, you have to follow the rules and line up at the back." "Line up? You want our Demon King to line up?" The white-eyed wolf laughed angrily. "What? Demon King?" The onlookers were shocked and looked at the Sea Lion Demon King. The 10 guards did the same. The corner of the Sea Lion Demon King's mouth kept twitching. "You sure know how to act. Why don't you become an actor?" Ahem. Since they had already flattered him to this extent, he could only cooperate with the 3 of them and show a proud expression. "Are you really a Demon King?" A guard carefully stepped forward and looked at the Sea Lion Demon King. "Yes." The Sea Lion Demon King nodded. Boom. The next moment, a dazzling golden light rushed out from his forehead. Immediately after, a thumb-sized mark appeared. It was golden as if it was cast from gold leaf, and the shape was like a young Kuanpeng. This is the mark given by the divine beast Kuanpeng to the Demon King of the Kuanpeng Sea region. He really is a Demon King. The 10 guards' eyes trembled, and they hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, Demon King. We didn't mean to offend you, please forgive us." "No need for formalities." The Sea Lion Demon King waved his hand, and the mark between his eyebrows also disappeared. In the eyes of the humans of the Central Dynasty, Demon Kings also had a pivotal position. After all, they were existences that controlled the will of the heavenly Tao. "Thank you, Demon King." The 10 guards secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The white-eyed wolf looked at the 10 of them arrogantly and sneered. "Do you still dare to say that we're arrogant now?" "No, no." The 10 of them hurriedly shook their heads and smiled flatteringly. "Humph." The white-eyed wolf snorted, looked at the people in front of the city gate, and shouted, "Why aren't you getting out of here?" As soon as he said this, the people in front immediately scattered and retreated to the sides. The white-eyed wolf nodded in satisfaction, turned to the Sea Lion Demon King, and bowed. "My lord, please." "Okay." The Sea Lion Demon King nodded and strode toward the city gate. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 followed closely behind the Sea Lion Demon King. Seeing this, A guard hurriedly looked at his companion and said, "They haven't been interrogated yet." "Shut up. The other party is a demon king. What are you still investigating?" "Yes, after all, a demon king is not someone we can offend. For an existence like him, even if he kills us in public, the city lord won't say anything," the other 9 guards said one after another. Soon, Qin Feiyang and the other 2 followed behind the Sea Lion Demon King and smoothly entered Green Wind City. Is he really a demon king? Didn't you see those 10 guards? They were all respectful to him. How could it be fake? But why would a demon king come to our Green Wind City? For an existence like him, if he wants to go, he would definitely go to Tianxian City, Tianyue City, Tianyang City, and other large cities. Along the way, the pedestrians on the street all looked at the Sea Lion Demon King with suspicion. Now this is great. Although we escaped the guards' interrogation and successfully entered Green Wind City, we also became the focus of attention. The Sea Lion Demon King looked at the crowd around him and speechlessly transmitted his voice to Qin Feiyang and the other 2. "Isn't this the only way to show your prestige?" The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. The Sea Lion Demon King smiled bitterly. Awe-inspiring? What was the difference between him and a stray dog now? He really knew how to tell jokes. Now, shouldn't we be more low-key? He didn't understand why Qin Feiyang and the other 2 dared to be so high-profile. Were they not afraid of their identities being exposed? Chapter 4432. Low Profile. Madman was taken aback for a moment before asking suspiciously, "Why do we need to keep a low profile?" "Because Dong Qingyuan and the others are chasing after you," Sea Lion said. "Yes. But so what?" The white-eyed wolf sneered. He didn't take it to heart at all. Sea Lion had a bitter look on his face. Why was he so unlucky to encounter these 3 lawless people? "If you want to follow us, you have to learn our style." The white-eyed wolf chuckled. "Learn from you?" Sea Lion smiled bitterly. He didn't dare to learn this style of courting death, because if he learned it, he might lose his life one day. When those guards saw your Demon King mark, they no longer doubted your identity. It seems that they have grasped the ultimate law and have seen a lot of things, Madman said. Sea Lion nodded. However, the guards of a city have mastered ultimate profundities of ultimate laws. Aren't the people from the Central Dynasty a little too terrifying? Also, I seem to have heard someone say something about Tianxian City, Tianyu City, and Tianyang City. What's the difference between these cities? Madman looked at Sea Lion suspiciously. Of course they're different. Sea Lion nodded. His expression became serious as he secretly explained. There are a total of 10 super-large cities in the Central Dynasty. Tianxian City, Tianyu City, and Tianyang City are one of them. Super-large cities? Madman murmured, his eyes filled with curiosity. It can even be said that the status of these 10 super-large cities in the Central Dynasty is only second to Emperor City Mountain. Although I'm the Demon King of the Kunpeng Sea region, once I enter these 10 cities, I won't dare to act presumptuously, Sea Lion said. Why are the status of these 10 cities so high? Madman was puzzled. Because in these 10 super-large cities, there is a direct descendant family, Sea Lion said. Direct descendant family? Qin Feiyang and the other 2 looked at each other. The brothers Dong Xian and Dong Tianchen came from a direct descendant family. Moreover, the family behind them had no less than 500 powerhouses who grasped the will of heaven. One could imagine. How terrifying were these direct descendants? But now, the Sea Lion Demon King told them that there was a direct descendant family in each of these 10 cities. That was to say, there were a total of 10 clans in the Central Dynasty. Was the population so prosperous? The 10 great clans are actually the rulers of the 10 great super cities. They control all the resources in the city. It's also because the 10 main families are all close relatives of the emperor. Even the Kunpeng and the Dragon God have to give them some face. Sea Lion thought to himself. I see. Madman nodded. In short, the 10 great lineal clans are all powerful existences. Even the 10 great demon emperors of the Kunpeng Sea region dare not provoke them, let alone a demon king like me. The Sea Lion Demon King shook his head. His eyes were filled with awe towards the top 10 families. Covering the sky with one hand? I think they're just relying on the backing of the sovereign of the divine kingdom to intimidate others. The white-eyed wolf sneered. Ugh. The Sea Lion Demon King looked at the white-eyed wolf in astonishment. Intimidating others? How dare they say that? Which of the top 10 clans didn't have hundreds of powerhouses with the will of the heavenly Tao? Although they did have the backing of the sovereign, the strength of the major clans couldn't be denied. What about the lineal clans? The white-eyed wolf asked. There are many lineal clans. There are a total of 56. They each control a city and are very powerful. The Sea Lion Demon King smiled. What about the side clans? The white-eyed wolf asked again. There are naturally more side clans, but no one has specifically counted them. Like now, the people we see on the street all belong to the side clans. The Sea Lion Demon King said. The madman and the white-eyed wolf scanned the pedestrians coming and going on the street. They were extremely incredulous. This Dong family actually had such a large clan. Even if these people were only side clans, they were still clans under the Dong family. They had seen many clans with large populations. But it was hard to accept that the people of the entire continent were all from the same clan. This made them wonder if the Dong family was a breeding machine that specialized in giving birth to children. The Divine Kingdom has a long history and has existed for countless years. It's actually not a big deal for the Dong family to have so many clans. After all, the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan, which we are familiar with, also has many clans. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He was still relatively calm. All right. Just take it as an eye-opener. The white-eyed wolf smiled bitterly. The madman chuckled and turned to Qin Feiyang. He joked. It seems that the Qin family still has to work hard. The true direct descendants of the Qin clan, including Emperor Hong, Emperor Chun, Emperor Xian, Qin Feiyang, Qin Haoyan, and Qin Feiyang's 7 younger brothers and sisters. Even if Qin Batian and the Feather Emperor were counted, there were only 14 of them. After tens of thousands of years of reproduction, there were only 14 direct descendants left. No one would believe this if they told others. If it were any other family head, they could have at least tens of thousands of people, or even hundreds of thousands of clans. It was no wonder that Emperor Hong and Emperor Chun were so anxious, urging Qin Feiyang to give birth to a child, urging Qin Haoyan to get married, and even wanted to set up a harem for Qin Haoyan. This was because the Qin clan had too few people, and they were anxious. Hearing the madman's words, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but smile bitterly. Compared to the Dong family of the Central Dynasty, the people of the Qin bloodline were pitifully few. Little Qin Zi, since you don't want to carry on the family line, why don't you give birth to a son first, and let him make babies every day, every night? I believe that sooner or later, your Qin family will catch up with the Dong family here. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Get lost. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. How could he give birth to a son just to make babies? Besides, he didn't want to carry on the family line? No. He didn't have the energy to take care of children now. The Sea Lion Demon King looked at Qin Feiyang, then suddenly looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf, and asked, From what you said, are there very few people in the Qin clan? I can count them with 2 hands. How many do you think there are? The madman chuckled. The Sea Lion Demon King was stunned and asked again. How many years has the Qin clan existed? The madman said, counting from their ancestor, Qin Batian, it's been more than 10,000 years. No way. More than 10,000 years, and there are only so few clansmen. The Sea Lion Demon King was stunned. He couldn't help but look at Qin Feiyang and ask seriously, Is the Qin family weak in that aspect? What aspect? Qin Feiyang didn't understand. It's this aspect. The madman and the white-eyed wolf pointed at Qin Feiyang's lower body. Their faces already flushed red. When Qin Feiyang heard this, his veins suddenly bulged, gritting his teeth and staring at the Sea Lion Demon King. Don't be angry. In fact, this kind of thing can't be forced. After all, some people are born weak, and nothing works. The Sea Lion Demon King waved his hand. He had thought that it was because he had guessed correctly that Qin Feiyang was enraged from embarrassment. He even started to comfort Qin Feiyang, causing Qin Feiyang to nearly go berserk. Who can't do it? Do you want to let one of your sisters try? See my man's manliness? Haha. Looking at Qin Feiyang, who was about to collapse, the madman and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but laugh. This sea lion demon king was really the best. He could even say such words. Wasn't he deliberately trying to attack Qin Feiyang? The pedestrians around couldn't help but look at the madman and the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. Why did these two suddenly laugh so happily? I'll endure it. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, calmed the anger in his heart, glared fiercely at the sea lion demon king, and walked towards a restaurant not far away. Why is he so unreasonable? I'm just comforting him. The sea lion demon king looked at Qin Feiyang's back and sighed helplessly. Who told you to guess his sore spot? He must be angry. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. So, I guessed right? The sea lion demon king was stunned. Yes. He's just born weak. If you have the chance, you can help him. I believe that when the time comes, he will definitely thank you for a lifetime. The white-eyed wolf held back his laughter and patted the sea lion demon king's shoulder. Remember to help him. The madman also patted the sea lion demon king's shoulder and laughed. Then the two turned around and chased after Qin Feiyang. When they turned around, they couldn't help but laugh. This sea lion demon king was really too interesting, making them laugh until tears came out of their eyes. The sea lion demon king looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf, and then looked at Qin Feiyang's back. He shook his head with sympathy and sighed. Sigh, how pitiful. As a man, how can he be weak? Don't worry, for the sake of the two inheritances, this king will help you solve this problem, and let you regain your manliness. The sea lion demon king murmured and followed them to the restaurant. Chapter 44-33. In the restaurant. In the hall. Qin Feiyang and the other three were sitting around the table. As soon as the waiter of the restaurant brought the food and wine, a young man in luxurious clothes rushed in. Isn't this the young city lord of our Green Wind City? Everyone was surprised. The young city lord had a noble status. Why would he come to such a small restaurant? This restaurant was indeed very small. There were only a dozen tables in the hall, and it was very shabby. The only gratifying thing was that although the place was small, it was very clean. The young man in luxurious clothes glanced at the people in the hall, and his eyes were directly locked on the sea lion demon king. He then walked to the side of the sea lion demon king and bowed. Greetings, Lord Demon King. So he's here for the Demon King. Everyone murmured. You are? The sea lion demon king turned his head and looked at the young man in luxurious clothes suspiciously. The young man in luxurious clothes said, Lord Demon King, this junior is Ji Xiaowu, the young city lord of Green Wind City. Ji Xiaowu? Qin Feiyang and the other two were taken aback. How could there be a different surname in the Central Dynasty? Shouldn't the people here all have the surname Dong? However, the sea lion demon king seemed to be used to it and asked faintly, What's the matter? I received a message from the guard saying that Lord Demon King has entered my Green Wind City. So Lord Father immediately asked this junior to come and invite you to his mansion. Ji Xiaowu smiled. The sea lion demon king was taken aback and asked suspiciously, What do you mean? Why did he invite him to the city lord mansion when he was not related to him? Lord, don't misunderstand. Lord Father just wants to be a good host. Ji Xiaowu said. So he's here to curry favor with me. The sea lion demon king smiled secretly, looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two and asked, What do you think? Since he has personally invited us, how can we refuse? But I don't think the father and son want to be a good host. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Ha! The sea lion demon king was surprised. Look carefully, there's a trace of worry between his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang said. When the sea lion demon king heard this, he looked up at Ji Xiaowu. Seeing the sea lion monster king look over, Ji Xiaowu immediately put on a flattering smile. But even so, he was unable to conceal the worry between his eyebrows. That's true. The sea lion demon king mumbled. He hadn't noticed it before. You're not thinking of harming us, are you? Suddenly, his pupils shrank. Against us? Qin Feiyang the lunatic and the white-eyed wolf were all speechless. You are a demon king. How dare a mere city lord harm you? Wasn't he just digging his own grave? Ha! The sea lion demon king laughed inwardly. He looked at the young man and said, All right, I happen to be free anyway. I'll go with you to the city lord's mansion. Thank you, Lord Demon King. Ji Xiaowu's face was filled with joy. He hurriedly took out several hundred divine crystals, looked at the clerk next to him and asked, Are these enough to pay the bill? Enough, enough, enough. The shop assistant nodded repeatedly and stepped forward to receive the divine crystals. Lord Demon King, please. Ji Xiaowu retreated to the side, his expression extremely respectful. The Sea Lion Demon King got up and swaggered out of the restaurant. Qin Feiyang and the other two followed closely behind. Ji Xiaowu caught up and looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang and the other two. He asked curiously, Lord Demon King, these three lords are? They are my subordinates, the future Demon King. The Sea Lion Demon King said indifferently. The future Demon King. Ji Xiaowu was shocked. For the Sea Lion Demon King to say such words, it could be seen that the strength and status of these three people were. He hurriedly bowed and said, Junior greets the three lords. Qin Feiyang and the other two nodded indifferently. After a while, a huge mansion entered their line of sight. The mansion was located in the central area of the city. The tall walls of the courtyard and the imposing buildings were all out of the ordinary. Outside the door, a group of guards stood upright, holding sharp blades in their hands. Their eyes were cold and their bodies exuded a murderous aura. Right above the door, there were three large words written in iron hook silver. City Lord's Mansion. Greetings, young City Lord. The group of guards saw Ji Xiaowu coming and bowed to salute. Thank you for your hard work. Ji Xiaowu smiled slightly, pointed to the Sea Lion Demon King, and said, This is the Senior Demon King from the Kunping Sea region. The three beside Senior are also the future Demon Kings of the Kunping Sea region. Greetings to the four lords. The group of guards heard this and bowed respectfully. The Sea Lion Demon King nodded. Senior, please. Ji Xiaowu pointed to the door. The Sea Lion Demon King looked up at the door of the City Lord's mansion and stepped forward, leading Qin Feiyang and the other two into the City Lord's mansion. It was worth noting that, before entering the City Lord's mansion, Qin Feiyang looked at the group of guards outside the door, and a trace of suspicion flashed in his eyes. What's going on? Why is the security so tight? Generally speaking, in a place like the City Lord's mansion, there were usually 3 or 4 guards guarding the door at most. But now, there were dozens of guards here. Moreover, after entering the City Lord's mansion, he found that inside the mansion, there was also a guard every 3 steps and a sentry every 7 steps. It was as if they were facing a great enemy. For lords, this way please. After passing through 3 corridors and 2 gardens, they finally arrived at their destination. In front of them was a magnificent hall. A group of people stood in front of the hall, waiting for them. The leader was a middle-aged man, wearing a gorgeous robe, with a square face, a rather burly figure, and a domineering aura all over his body. The other 10 people were a group of old people, men and women, and the aura they exuded was quite extraordinary. Similarly, there seemed to be a trace of worry between these people's eyebrows. Lord Demon King, seeing Qin Feiyang and the other 3 coming over, the square-faced man immediately greeted them with a smile. You are. The Sea Lion Demon King stopped and looked at the square-faced man suspiciously. Senior, he is Junior's father Ji Daxiong. The others are also the consecrators of my City Lord's mansion. Ji Xiaowu hurriedly stepped forward and introduced them one by one. Consecrators? Qin Feiyang and the other 2 were taken aback. Why was this popular in the Central Dynasty? So it's the City Lord. I've heard a lot about you. The Sea Lion Demon King nodded and looked at Ji Daxiong with a smile. I wouldn't dare. Ji Daxiong hurriedly waved his hand, turned around, and retreated to the side with a smile. The banquet has been prepared, Lord, please come in. The banquet has been prepared? The Sea Lion Demon King looked inside the hall and joked. It seems that you are sure that I will come to your City Lord's mansion. No, I'm just prepared. Ji Daxiong smiled. Haha. The Sea Lion Demon King laughed and led Qin Feiyang and the other two into the hall. Ji Daxiong looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two suspiciously and said, Xiaowu, who are the three people behind the Demon King? They are the Demon King's subordinates, and this Demon King said that these three people are the future Demon King. Ji Xiaowu thought. Future Demon King. Ji Daxiong and the 10 consecrators looked at each other. A trace of shock appeared in their eyes, and then they hurriedly followed into the hall. Inside the hall, the decorations were luxurious. There were all kinds of rare treasures. Even the dining table and chairs were made of rare jade. On the table, there were all kinds of delicacies. The white-eyed wolf and Frenzy sniffed and immediately stared at the wine jugs on the table, their eyes shining. With their many years of experience in drinking, as long as they smelled the wine, they could tell that these wine jugs were filled with divine wine. So sumptuous? Don't tell me it's a hangmen banquet. The Sea Lion Demon King laughed. Lord Demon King really knows how to joke. Ji Daxiong shook his head, walked to the side, pointed to the main seat, and said with a smile, Lord, please sit. Seeing that it was the main seat, the Sea Lion Demon King waved his hand and said, I don't dare to overshadow the host. After saying that, he walked to a chair and sat down. Qin Feiyang and the other two sat on the left and right sides of the Sea Lion Demon King. Ji Daxiong was stunned. He didn't expect this Demon King to be so particular. Generally speaking, existences like the Demon King would definitely sit on the main seat no matter where they went. After all, this was a world where strength was respected. If you were weak, even if you were the master of the house, you would have to give way. When he came back to his senses, Ji Daxiong sat on the main seat and called the 10 consecrators to sit. Then he looked at Ji Xiaowu and said with a smile, Xiaowu, hurry up and pour wine for Lord Demon King. Okay. Ji Xiaowu nodded, picked up a wine jug, ran to the Sea Lion Demon King and poured a cup of divine wine. He then ran in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang reached out and covered the wine cup, shook his head and said, I don't need it. No need. Ji Xiaowu was stunned. Ji Daxiong also quickly looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Does Lord dislike this wine? How is he disliking it? He doesn't like to drink. Don't force him. The madman and the white-eyed wolf grinned. They each took a wine jug and began to drink with their heads tilted back. So he doesn't like to drink. You really scared me. I thought Lord didn't like this wine. Ji Daxiong shook his head and smiled. The 10 consecrators next to him also smiled apologetically. Not bad. The white-eyed wolf nodded, turned his head to look at Ji Xiaowu, and laughed. Another jug. It's finished? Ji Xiaowu was stunned. It was finished in the blink of an eye. That was too fast. Just this? It's not enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. Ji Xiaowu came back to his senses and smiled bitterly. Senior is really good at drinking. With that, he ran directly to the side hall of the main hall, carried a dozen jugs of divine wine, and placed them beside the white-eyed wolf. That's more like it. The white-eyed wolf nodded with a face full of smiles. Just the wine in the jug was not enough to quench his thirst for wine. Seeing the white-eyed wolf drinking so happily, Ji Daxiong and the 10 consecrators looked at each other, a smile creeping onto their faces. They were afraid that they would not treat him well. After 3 rounds of wine, Qin Feiyang put down the chopsticks in his hand, looked up at Ji Daxiong, and said lightly, I see that the city lord is feeling quite uncomfortable holding it in. Why don't you just say it? Ah. Ji Daxiong looked at Qin Feiyang. The 10 consecrators also looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. This person's perception was too strong. He could see that they had something on their minds. Frenzy drank as he said, Don't treat us as fools. Before we came to the city lord's mansion, we already knew that you should have something to ask us. The group couldn't help but look at Frenzy. Before entering the city lord's mansion, he already knew. His observation skills were truly terrifying. Chapter 44-34. The Sea Lion Demon King also put down his chopsticks and said indifferently, Speak, don't waste everyone's time. Okay. Ji Daxiong nodded and immediately put down his bowl and chopsticks. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the others, He stood up and said respectfully, "This time, I invited the four of you here because I have a request." "See, there is indeed no free lunch in the world." The white-eyed wolf sneered. The sea lion demon king's eyes also flickered with a cold light. "Sir, please calm down. I really didn't mean to deceive you, but this matter is too important. I don't have full confidence, so I thought of using this method to get close to the four of you." Ji Daxiong hurriedly explained. "What important matter?" This time, it aroused the curiosity of Qin Feiyang and the others. Ji Daxiong said, "It concerns the future fate of the City Lord Mansion." "So serious? Is someone coming to kill you?" The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. "No. But it's almost the same. There is a family that wants to annex our Green Wind City and make us work for them. We definitely don't want to. Because in this way, the resources of our Green Wind City will be given to them." Ji Daxiong sighed. "Annexation?" Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. This kind of thing is very common. For example, the 10 great direct descendant clans. Although their headquarters are in the 10 great super cities, there are still many cities outside that depend on them. The Sea Lion Demon King transmitted his voice. "So that's how it is." Qin Feiyang and the others suddenly understood. This Green Wind City is just a small city. The 10 families naturally don't like it, but it doesn't mean that other families don't like it. Moreover, in order to seize control of these cities, the major families often fight openly and secretly. The Sea Lion Demon King said again. "Aren't we all family? Is there a need to fight over it?" Madman was speechless. "So what if we are family? Look at Great Qin. Those princes who died in the past were all brothers with little Qin Zi. What happened in the end? For a bit of selfishness and ambition, they made use of each other and killed each other. Who cares about kinship? Even the small Qin clan is like this, let alone such a big Dong clan." White-eyed Wolf thought to himself. He had seen too many of such incidents, and he was already numb to them. Qin Feiyang looked up at Ji Daxiong and asked suspiciously, "Who wants to annex you?" "Dong Tianxiang, the head of a branch family," Ji Daxiong said, his eyes filled with hatred. "Collateral family? Dong Tianxiang. Never heard of him, right? He shouldn't be a big shot." The white-eyed wolf pouted. "Ah, you don't even know Dong Tianxiang?" Ji Daxiong was stunned. "What do you mean? Is he very powerful?" The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. "Ugh." Ji Daxiong looked at the white-eyed wolf in astonishment. Then he patted his head and smiled. "You four were in the Kunpeng Sea area before. It's not strange that you don't know. Isn't it just a collateral family? You are actually afraid of them. This is really an eye-opener. We are not interested in a mere collateral family." The white-eyed wolf shook his head. If it was a direct family or a direct family, they might be interested. Hearing this, Ji Daxiong, Ji Xiaowu, and the 10 consecrators could not help but feel anxious. "Don't say any more. If you say any more, I will be angry. Don't disturb me from drinking." The white-eyed wolf waited for the group of people. Looking at the resolute white-eyed wolf, the group of people suddenly fell into deep despair. Suddenly, plop. Ji Xiaowu actually knelt on the ground and begged, "Sirs, I beg you, please help us. We are truly at the end of our rope." "Xiaowu." Ji Daxiong looked at his son in shock. Of course, he knew his son the best. Although his talent was not very good, he was born a very competitive person, and would never kneel to others easily. "Lord Father, we have no other choice." Ji Xiaowu sighed and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other three. "We have already given up struggling, but previously, we suddenly heard that a monster king had entered our Green Wind City, so we shamelessly went to find you. Junior knows that this is a bit presumptuous, but we are really desperate. I hope that the 4 seniors will help us. Junior will kowtow to you." Ji Xiaowu exclaimed, and then kowtowed one after another. Soon, his forehead was badly mutilated and blood flowed all over the ground. Looking at this scene, Ji Daxiong's heart ached. Plop. Suddenly, he also knelt on the ground and looked at the 4 of them. "I beg the 4 lords, please help us." Madman frowned. "Why don't you go find other families to help you?" "Who can we find? For this kind of thing, even if we go find the emperor, it will be useless." Ji Daxiong sighed. What's the situation? The white-eyed wolf looked at the sea lion demon king in surprise. This kind of territorial dispute is too common in the Central Dynasty. As long as it doesn't get to the point where people are in a terrible situation and blood flows like a river, the emperor will not care. In other words, the emperor acquiesces to this kind of thing. Those who encounter this kind of thing can only rely on themselves. The sea lion demon king transmitted his voice. So that's how it is. The white-eyed wolf suddenly understood. It seemed that the living environment of the Central Dynasty was also quite cruel. Then, the white-eyed wolf looked at Ji Xiaowu and said with a cold face, "Stop kowtowing a grown man, don't you feel ashamed?" But then again, this Ji Xiaowu was still considered responsible. For his family, for the city lord's mansion, he was able to bow and submit. "Lord, I beg you." Ji Xiaowu turned a deaf ear. Not only did he not stop, but he also used more and more strength. All right. Get up first, let's ask about the situation first. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand helplessly. Thank you, Lord. Although he did not explicitly agree, as long as there was room for negotiation, there was still hope. Is this Dong Tianxiang very strong? The white-eyed wolf frowned. Not strong, he has only mastered 2 ultimate mysteries of the strongest law. Ji Xiaowu got up and shook his head. What? 2 ultimate mysteries of the strongest law? The white-eyed wolf was stunned, turning his head to look at Ji Daxiong and the 10 consecrators frowning. I think your strength should not be weak. Can't you deal with such a small character? Of course it's easy to deal with Dong Tianxiang, but we can't touch the person behind Dong Tianxiang. Ji Daxiong sighed. The person behind? The white-eyed wolf was slightly taken aback and said disdainfully, what kind of backer can a patriarch of a side family have? Yes. And his backer is not ordinary. Dong Tianxiang's backer is one of the 5 unparalleled geniuses of our Central Dynasty, Dong Hanzong. Ji Daxiong said in a deep voice. Dong Hanzong. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 suddenly stood up, their eyes shining. They really did not expect it to be Dong Hanzong. You know Dong Hanzong too? The Sea Lion King secretly asked. Nonsense. Dong Hanzong has been to the 4 great continents and fought with us. How can we not know? Frenzy rolled his eyes. The Sea Lion Demon King smiled awkwardly. Looking at the reaction of Qin Feiyang and the other 2, Ji Daxiong carefully asked. The 4 of you, are you afraid of Dong Hanzong? Nonsense. Dong Hanzong is ranked first among the 5 unparalleled geniuses. And he has mastered the Qian Kuan domain. Not to mention a monster king like me. Even Lord Kuanping has to be wary of him. The Sea Lion King's face was solemn. This was not a joke. He was indeed frightened. As a monster king, how could he not know Dong Hanzong's strength? It was not an exaggeration to say that he was invincible. Ji Daxiong heard this and smiled bitterly. Sure enough, even a monster king did not dare to go against Dong Hanzong. So what if he is Dong Hanzong? The white-eyed wolf sneered and looked at Ji Daxiong. We will help you. What? Ji Daxiong, Ji Xiaowu, and the 10 consecrators looked at the white-eyed wolf in disbelief. The Sea Lion King was also shocked. What was wrong with this golden-winged wolf king? Wasn't he not interested before? Why did he become so full of fighting spirit when he heard that it was Dong Hanzong? Let me tell you, if it wasn't Dong Hanzong, I really wouldn't be interested, but since it is Dong Hanzong, I must play with him. The white-eyed wolf laughed secretly. But his strength, we really can't afford to offend him. The Sea Lion King was worried. Useless. The white-eyed wolf looked at Ji Daxiong with disdain and said, You didn't hear wrong, we have decided to help you. The group of people looked at each other and were overjoyed. They bowed and said, Thank you for lords. Cough cough. The Sea Lion King coughed and braced himself. You're welcome, you're welcome. In fact, he wanted to cry in his heart. Of all the people to provoke, why did he have to provoke Dong Hanzong? Wasn't this just courting death? Madman asked. Who is Dong Tianxiang to Dong Hanzong? Second uncle. Dong Hanzong's parents died early. As for how they died, I don't know, but it seems that someone was jealous of Dong Hanzong's talent and was killed. Therefore, Dong Tianxiang can be considered Dong Hanzong's only relative in this world. Because of this, Dong Hanzong trusts Dong Tianxiang very much. In the past, Dong Tianxiang was just a small figure at the bottom who had difficulty surviving, but because of the rise of Dong Hanzong, he also turned over a new leaf. Over the years, Dong Tianxiang relied on Dong Hanzong to constantly expand the family's power. Now they have already set up 100 cities under their control. Although these cities are basically small cities, they can't be underestimated when combined. Ji Daxiong said. Dong Hanzong's talent and talent? Are you kidding me? What talent and talent can he have? The white-eyed wolf's face was full of contempt. Ji Daxiong was stunned. Ji Xiaowu and the 10 consecrators also looked at the white-eyed wolf in astonishment. Even the Sea Lion King was the same. At such a young age, he had already grasped the will of the heavens and had the Qianquan domain. He was ranked first among the 5 unparalleled geniuses, and even the emperor looked at him in a different light. Furthermore, he was Dong Qingyuan's disciple. If Dong Hanzong didn't have it, then who did? Patriarch, why do I feel that they are a little unreliable? One of the consecrators came back to his senses and transmitted his voice. I think so too. Ji Daxiong smiled bitterly. They seemed to regret asking Qin Feiyang and the others for help. Chapter 44-35. Are you doubting our ability? The white-eyed wolf glanced at the group of people. No. Ji Daxiong hurriedly waved his hand. It was better to have help than nothing. A group of ignorant scum. The white-eyed wolf had a look of disdain. Now he finally understood why the city lord's mansion was so heavily guarded, being targeted by Dong Hanzong's people, who wouldn't be nervous. But this time, Dong Hanzong's family had kicked an iron plate. Central dynasty no. Looking at the entire divine kingdom, there might be no one who wasn't afraid of Dong Hanzong, but Qin Feiyang and the other 2 were undoubtedly 3 exceptions. Boom. At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly descended above the city lord's mansion. Sensing this aura, Ji Daxiong and the others couldn't help but tremble. Moreover, the guards of the city lord's mansion also immediately looked up at the sky, a cold light flashing in their eyes. What's wrong? The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at Ji Daxiong and the others suspiciously. This person is Dong Tianxiang. Ji Daxiong said with a trembling voice. Look at you. The madman had a look of disdain as he looked outside and laughed. What a coincidence. Not at all. Because 3 days ago he already came. At that time he said that he would give us 3 days to consider. Now is the agreed time. Ji Xiaowu said in a deep voice. So it's like this. Let him in. The madman suddenly smiled and said lightly. Ji Xiaowu looked at Qin Feiyang and the other 2 and the Sea Lion Demon King with a trace of suspicion in his eyes. What's going on? Aren't these 3 people the subordinates of the Sea Lion Demon King? Now even the Sea Lion Demon King was a little nervous. Why did these 3 people have such a fearless look? Go quickly. Do you want us to go out and meet him personally? He doesn't have that much face. The white-eyed wolf stared at Ji Xiaowu. All right. Ji Xiaowu nodded, took a deep breath, got up and walked out of the door. Ji Daxiong and the 10 consecrators also prepared to get up. All of you sit down for me. How can a dignified city lord and a consecrator personally welcome a small patriarch? Madman snorted. The 11 of them looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Now, they were really worried. When the time came, not only would the 4 of them fail to help, but they would also arouse Dong Tianxiang's killing intent. In the sky, a black-clothed man stood facing the wind. He was about 1.8 meters tall and had a sturdy body. He had a head full of thick black hair, and his dark eyes flickered with an astonishing amount of hostility. No one came out to greet me. This person was none other than Dong Tianxiang. Behind Dong Tianxiang, there were 3 tall and sturdy men. They were all more than 2 meters tall, like 3 small giants. Their bodies exuded a valiant aura. They are being disrespectful to you. Let's go down and teach them a lesson. The 3 burly men were filled with killing intent. All right. Be gentle. After all, we still need them to work for us. Dong Tianxiang sneered in an overbearing manner. Understood. The three of them nodded and prepared to rush down. But at this moment, Ji Xiaowu ran out and landed in front of the four people. He bowed and said, "Greetings for seniors. Are you the only one who came out? Where's your father?" Dong Tianxiang frowned. Ji Xiaowu said, "Father is waiting for the four of you in the main hall." Be it his attitude or tone, he was rather polite. However, when he heard that Ji Daxiong was in the main hall, and did not come out to greet them but sent a junior instead, Dong Tianxiang was filled with hostility and slapped Ji Xiaowu's face. Ji Xiaowu shrieked, and was sent flying like a meteor. His face was lacerated and fresh blood flowed. Young city lord. The guards below were enraged when they saw that. "Don't move." Ji Xiaowu roared and stabilized his body. He looked at Dong Tianxiang and said, "Please take a seat in the hall, sir." Dong Tianxiang glanced at Ji Xiaowu and harumphed through his nose, saying proudly, "Is your father that important? Get him to come out and meet me personally. Don't go overboard." Ji Xiaowu suppressed his voice and said in a deep voice, "Overboard? Trash like you guys? I'm already giving you guys enough face by coming here personally." Dong Tianxiang sneered. "Trash like us?" Ji Xiaowu stared at Dong Tianxiang gloomily and his entire body was trembling. He was obviously on the verge of exploding. Phew. But in the end, he let out a long sigh, turned around and flew down. "Family head, we can't let Ji Xiaowu live." One of the burly men looked at Ji Xiaowu's back and said in a low voice, "Why?" Dong Tianxiang was suspicious. He knows how to endure at such a young age. This shows how terrifying his temperament is. Such a person will definitely be a disaster in the future. The burly man said, "Makes sense." Dong Tianxiang nodded and looked at Ji Xiaowu with a murderous look in his eyes. "So important. You can't even invite the young city lord in? Since you can't invite him out, you guys can just stand outside." Not long after Ji Xiaowu returned to the main hall, the white-eyed wolf's voice came from inside. Dong Tianxiang and the three burly men were stunned. This voice was so unfamiliar. Could it be that Ji Daxiong had found reinforcements? Dong Tianxiang's eyes flashed and he sneered. "I'd like to see who dares to go against us now." After that, he landed in front of the main hall with the three burly men and looked inside. Immediately, he saw Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, the madman, and the sea lion demon king. He even called in 4 reinforcements. However, they're all so unfamiliar. I have no impression of them at all. They're definitely not from the direct family. Dong Tianxiang murmured, because he knew a little about the people from the direct family. "Ji Daxiong, I was wondering why you didn't come to greet me in person. It turns out that you've found a backer and become confident." Dong Tianxiang swaggered into the main hall with his hands behind his back, as if it was his own home. He pushed Ji Daxiong aside and sat directly on the main seat. The 3 burly men stood behind Dong Tianxiang and sneered at Ji Daxiong and the group of consecrators. Dong Tianxiang's attitude made Ji Daxiong and the group of consecrators furious to the extreme. He simply didn't put them in his eyes. "It's really annoying." The Sea Lion Demon King murmured. He, the Demon King, didn't even sit on the main seat. How could a person who had mastered 2 ultimate mysteries be so arrogant? At the same time, Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the white-eyed wolf looked at Dong Tianxiang, who was acting like a tyrant, and looked a little stunned. Was he so arrogant? He directly pushed Ji Daxiong aside and sat on the main seat. "Are you the reinforcements that Ji Daxiong found?" "Not bad. Good wine and good food. It seems that Ji Daxiong is very confident in you." Dong Tianxiang looked at Qin Feiyang and the other 3 and laughed. "And then what do you want to say?" The white-eyed wolf drank a mouthful of divine wine and looked at him playfully. "Do you still need to ask?" "I know what he wants to say. He definitely wants to say, have you inquired about my background? My nephew is Dong Hanzong, the head of the 5 unparalleled geniuses of the Central Dynasty. Since you dare to go against me, my nephew Dong Hanzong will not let you go. So I advise you to be sensible and get out of here as soon as possible." The madman laughed. "You're so smart that you even know what others are thinking?" The white-eyed wolf looked at the madman. "Isn't this the mentality of people like him? relying on someone behind him to intimidate others. In fact, he is trash. The madman laughed. Haha. The white-eyed wolf raised his head and laughed. Ji Xiaowu, Ji Daxiong, and the group of consecrators also couldn't help but want to laugh. The two echoed each other, and it was really pleasant to listen to. The Sea Lion Demon King couldn't help but feel melancholy in his heart. This time he had completely offended Dong Tianxiang. Looking at Dong Tianxiang again, he looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf, his eyes as gloomy as water. The faces of the three burly men behind him were also extremely gloomy. You guys are very courageous, Dong Tianxiang said. Not bad. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Dong Tianxiang sneered, looked at Ji Daxiong and said, "This is your answer to me?" Ji Daxiong suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang and the others with some fear. "If you don't answer, then I'll take it as a yes." "Very good. You just wait to be destroyed," Dong Tianxiang said, stood up, looked at Qin Feiyang and the others and sneered. "If you have the ability, then don't run. Let's see how long you can laugh. Let's go." With that, he shouted coldly and turned around to leave. The three burly men looked at Qin Feiyang and the others with a sinister smile, and also turned to leave. "Did I say you can leave?" But suddenly, the white-eyed wolf's voice sounded. And Dong Tianxiang and the others stopped and turned around to look at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf drank the last mouthful of wine in the jar, slowly got up, looked at the four people and said with a smile, "Is this a place where you can come and go as you please? Then what do you want?" Dong Tianxiang crossed his arms and looked at the white-eyed wolf with a sneer. "What do you think?" the white-eyed wolf murmured. Suddenly, the corner of his mouth lifted. He rushed to Dong Tianxiang in one step. So fast, Dong Tianxiang instinctively took a step back. At the same time, the three burly men saw the white-eyed wolf rushing over. Their eyes flashed with killing intent, and they punched at the white-eyed wolf. "How dare a clown be so presumptuous in front of me?" The white-eyed wolf smiled coldly. In the palm of his hand, the power of 5 laws surged out. He stretched out his hands and grabbed the fists of the two burly men at the same time. With a sudden force, the two burly men screamed and their fists were smashed on the spot, blood splattering everywhere. Immediately, he kicked another burly man in the lower abdomen, and the power of law emerged. The burly man was also sent flying on the spot, blood spurting out of his mouth. In just a moment, the three burly men were seriously injured, and their faces were pale. 5 ultimate mysteries. And all of them are ultimate laws. Dong Tianxiang looked at the white-eyed wolf, his face full of shock. As expected of the future Monster King, Ji Daxiong and the others were also shocked. Because they also mastered the ultimate mysteries of the ultimate laws, they could see at a glance the strength of the power of law. The white-eyed wolf's 5 ultimate laws had reached the ultimate level. Chapter 44-36. However, although they were severely injured, their qi was not crippled. The 3 of them still had the strength to resist. "You're courting death." With a furious roar, the 3 burly men wanted to activate the ultimate profundity of their strongest laws. At this time, activating the ultimate law would inevitably lead to a devastating situation. Not only the City Lord Mansion, but the entire Green Wind City would be destroyed. Of course, for Qin Feiyang and the other 2, not to mention a Green Wind City, even if the entire Central Dynasty was destroyed, they would not care. Because the people of the Central Dynasty, whether they were direct family members or collateral family members, were all members of the Dong family. Their deaths were not regrettable. But at this time they could not cause such a big commotion. The white-eyed wolf decisively attacked. The power of law emerged from his palm, containing the will of the heavenly Tao. In an instant, 3 consecutive palms were thrown out. The burly man and the other 2 screamed as their heads were smashed on the spot, flesh and blood splattering everywhere. Will of the heavenly Tao, Ji Daxiong and his son, as well as the 10 consecrators, were all shocked. Did they see wrongly? Wasn't he not at the Monster King level yet? Why would he have the will of the heavenly Tao? Dong Tianxiang was also dumbfounded on the spot. There was actually the will of the heavenly Tao. In other words, This person had already mastered the ultimate law of the 6 strongest laws. How could a small figure like Ji Daxiong invite an expert of the will of the heavenly Tao to help? Moreover, among the experts of the will of the heavenly Tao, who didn't know how powerful his nephew, Dong Hanzong, was, they would not dare to help Ji Daxiong. What was going on? Could it be? Was this person really from the top 10 families? It was just that he had changed his appearance and he couldn't recognize him, because only the 10 great clans had such strength and courage. The divine souls of the burly man and his 2 companions escaped and hid behind Dong Tianxiang. They were also terrified. They never thought that Ji Daxiong would invite such a powerful reinforcements. With just this little strength, you dare to clamor with us? The white-eyed wolf looked at Dong Tianxiang and the burly man, and the other 2 with disdain in his eyes. What are you so arrogant for? I am Dong Hanzong's second uncle. If you attack us, you're courting death. Dong Tianxiang laughed. Thinking of his nephew Dong Hanzong, he was full of confidence. Courting death? White-eyed wolf chuckled as killing intent flashed in his eyes. Even if Dong Hanzong himself was here, he wouldn't dare to say such words to us. Before he finished speaking, he took a step forward and instantly landed in front of Dong Tianxiang. What are you doing? Dong Tianxiang retreated in fear. The white-eyed wolf snickered and grabbed the 3 fleeing souls of the burly man and his companions. With a squeeze of his hand, the 3 souls were annihilated on the spot, accompanied by screams of pain. What? He was killed just like that. Ji Daxiong and the others were shocked. They had asked Qin Feiyang and the others to help. Their original intention was to solve this matter peacefully, but they had never expected that someone would die. All of this had caused a huge commotion. Dong Hanzong would definitely not let this matter rest. Sigh. Now that things have come to this, I can only brace myself and do it. The Sea Lion Demon King sighed. As expected of Qin Feiyang, Madman Mo, the Golden-Winged Wolf King, even Dong Hanzong's men were killed without hesitation. They were simply lawless. Boom. The white-eyed wolf turned his gaze and stared at Dong Tianxiang, his entire body exuding a bone-piercing killing intent. This time Dong Tianxiang was scared, because the other party was not afraid of him at all. His so-called backer and backing were completely useless now. Wait a moment. Qin Feiyang spoke at this time. The white-eyed wolf was stunned and turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang in confusion. If we kill him, no one will bring a message to Dong Hanzong. Qin Feiyang faintly smiled. He looked at Dong Tianxiang and said, "Scram back. Tell Dong Hanzong that we will be waiting for him in Azure Wind City. However, we are also very busy. We will only wait for him for 3 days." He actually dared to directly challenge Dong Hanzong? Ji Daxiong and the others looked at each other. That was too crazy. Were they really not afraid of death? Good, you guys have guts. Dong Tianxiang nodded and laughed out of anger. He then turned around and walked out. The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows and shouted, "I asked you to get out, not walk out." Hearing this, Dong Tianxiang's body suddenly stiffened. He turned his head to stare at the white-eyed wolf and shouted, "Don't you go too far." Go too far? Who was the one who came here to show off? Who was the one who came here to slap Ji Xiaowu? Why? Do you want me to slap you too? But I'm afraid that you can't bear it. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed coldly. You, Dong Tianxiang was furious. What about me? I'm asking you to get out or not. The white-eyed wolf shouted, his body full of murderous intent. Just you wait. And you, Ji Daxiong, let me tell you, you're finished, completely finished. Dong Tianxiang growled and lay on the ground, enduring the humiliation, and rolled out like a rubber ball. Haha. The white-eyed wolf laughed wildly. The guards outside could not help but look at each other when they saw Dong Tianxiang rolling out. What's going on? Previously, he walked in arrogantly, but now he's rolling out with his tail between his legs? I won't let you off. I swear. Dong Tianxiang got up, stared at the main hall and roared. He then opened a space-time tunnel and ran in without looking back. This is really satisfying, Ji Xiaowu laughed. It's satisfying now, but we'll be in trouble in the future. Ji Daxiong sighed. Ha! Ji Xiaowu looked at Ji Daxiong. This time, not only did we kill those 3 dogs, But we also humiliated Dong Tianxiang. Will Dong Hanzong let this go? I'm afraid that soon, we'll have to face Dong Hanzong's revenge. Ji Daxiong was worried. How was this helping him? It was simply causing trouble for him. Hearing this, Ji Xiaowu's body stiffened and his face turned pale. Is this all you have? The white-eyed wolf looked at the group of people speechlessly. My lord, we're different from you. You're the monster kings of the Kunping Sea region. At most, you can just leave. Moreover, you have the divine beast Kunping to support you. But what about us? Who's going to support us? We still have to survive in Green Wind City. How can we survive after offending Dong Hanzong? Unless he's dead. But he's so strong, who can kill him? Ji Daxiong and the group of consecrators were worried. If we knew this, we wouldn't have bothered to help you. The white-eyed wolf snorted. Ji Daxiong's face showed a trace of anger. Originally, he wanted to say that he was the one who truly regretted asking them for help. But now that he had offended Dong Hanzong, if he offended these monster kings, their situation would be even more difficult. So he endured it. Xiaowu, take the 4 monster kings to the backyard to rest. Remember to treat them well. Ji Daxiong looked at Ji Xiaowu and ordered. Yes. Ji Xiaowu nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other 3. He bowed and said, Seniors, please follow me. City Lord, what should we do? Dong Hanzong will definitely not let us go. If he comes personally, we'll be dead. After Qin Feiyang and the other 3 left, the group of consecrators surrounded Ji Daxiong and said, I know. Can't you see that I'm also worried about this? Ji Daxiong said angrily, looking extremely irritated. The group of consecrators heard this and looked at each other, as if they had made a decision. City Lord, we can't risk our lives with you. Let's part ways here. The group of consecrators said. What? You're leaving? Ji Daxiong looked at the group of people in disbelief. That's right. We're just consecrators that you invited. We're not your people. There's no reason for us to die with you. Of course. If this matter can be resolved peacefully in the future, we'll come back and continue to assist you. The group of consecrators said. What a joke. If you leave when there's danger and come back when there's no danger, then why did I invite you here? Are you going to guard my house? Dogs are enough to guard the house. Even dogs are more loyal than you. Ji Daxiong roared. He was about to explode. These consecrators were usually treated well as if they were living bodhisattvas, waiting for them to lend a hand when they were in danger. But now, all of them wanted to escape. How could he not be angry? Don't make it sound so bad. The person you provoked this time is Dong Hanzong. He's not an ordinary person. Go and ask around. Who dares to help you deal with Dong Hanzong? I'm afraid it's only those 4 arrogant monster kings. The group of consecrators snorted coldly, then turned around and left without looking back, leaving behind their merciless backs. Bastard! You're all cowards. To think that you've mastered so many ultimate profundities of supreme laws. Ji Daxiong was extremely angry. He had never seen such a heartless and unscrupulous person. In the backyard, the scenery of mountains and rivers was delightful. In front of a clear lake, there were many antique pavilions. For seniors, you can stay here. Ji Xiaowu led Qin Feiyang and the other 3 to one of the pavilions and said respectfully. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then you can rest first. If you need anything, just let us know. Ji Xiaowu said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded again. This junior will take his leave. Ji Xiaowu bowed and turned to leave quickly. I didn't expect Ji Daxiong to be so useless. White-eyed wolf looked around and said in disdain. We can't blame him. After all, the other party is Dong Hanzong. We're not afraid, but it doesn't mean that others aren't. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, then looked at the sea lion monster king and said, You're right. The sea lion monster king smiled bitterly. Since he had already boarded this pirate ship, what else could he say? Madman's eyes flickered with killing intent as he said, Dong Hanzong must die. If we don't get rid of him, he will bring us big trouble sooner or later. He's already a problem now. The last time in the 4 great continents was really a pity. If he didn't leave his divine soul in the central dynasty, he would be a corpse now. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply. What a pity. Chapter 44-37. But it won't be easy to kill Dong Hanzong. The madman shook his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. Let's find the inner demons and see where they are now. They should know that we have entered the central dynasty. The white-eyed wolf said, with the connection between the inner demons and little Qin Zi. They probably know that we are in Green Wind City. The madman nodded. Qin Feiyang closed his eyes, relaxed his body and mind, and sensed the location of the inner demons. Inner demons? Big cousin? The sea lion monster king looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two in surprise. Who are these two? After a while, Qin Feiyang opened his eyes and looked up at the right side of the sky. The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and also looked up. Qin Feiyang said, I don't know where that is, but I have determined their location. Hearing this, the madman turned to the sea lion monster king and asked, Is there anything special in this direction? Special? The sea lion monster king was taken aback. After pondering for a while, he frowned and said, In this direction there are many large and small cities, but if there is anything special, it should be Imperial Capital Mountain. Imperial Capital Mountain. The eyes of the three flashed. That's right. Imperial Capital Mountain. Our central dynasty, the most supreme place. The sea lion monster king nodded. The white-eyed wolf looked at the madman and Qin Feiyang and said, They can't be at Imperial Capital Mountain right now. Imperial Capital Mountain. Qin Feiyang murmured. Isn't this good? If the two were really at Imperial Capital Mountain, it meant that they had gained the trust of the emperor. Moreover, he could sense the location of the inner demons, and the inner demons could also sense his location, so if there was a chance, the inner demons and big cousin would definitely come to find them. There is one thing that I am puzzled about. The madman suddenly frowned. What? Qin Feiyang and white-eyed wolf looked at him suspiciously. The inner demons and big cousin returned to the central dynasty to cause trouble for Dong Qingyuan. But why is Dong Qingyuan still living such a comfortable life? Madman was confused. Yeah. White-eyed wolf also slapped his head. Back when he was in the 4 great continents, it had not been easy for him to create such an opportunity. Given the means of the inner demons and his cousin, there was no way they would let Dong Qingyuan off so easily once they returned to the central dynasty. However, when they saw Dong Qingyuan on the Kuanpeng Divine Island, they did not find anything amiss. He was still the commander of the Death God army. He was still deeply trusted by the emperor. It was still active. I'm afraid I'll have to meet the inner demons and big cousin before I can find out. Qin Feiyang pondered. What are you talking about? What inner demons? What big cousin? She's even related to Dong Qingyuan. Sea Lion Demon King looked confused. He did not understand at all. You're a demon king after all. Why are you so insensible? We didn't tell you because we didn't want you to know. Why are you still so insensible? White-eyed wolf glared at him. Don't be like this. At least now, I'm considered one of your own. Sea Lion Demon King smiled awkwardly. One of our own? You really don't regard me as an outsider at all. White-eyed wolf was speechless. This guy was so thick-skinned that even he had to admit defeat. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He looked at Sea Lion Demon King and said, When we think that you are worthy of our trust, we will naturally take the initiative to tell you. As for now, just bear with your curiosity. Sea Lion Demon King pursed his lips and glanced around. His eyes rolled slightly as he said, I'm going out for a walk. Where are you going? White-eyed wolf frowned. I'm going to Emperor Mountain to find the emperor and betray you. Sea Lion Demon King snorted coldly and turned around to leave without looking back. White-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. This guy was really not easy to deal with. However, Qin Feiyang and the other two did not take his words seriously. Often, the fiercer the words, the less likely it was to do so. Moreover, Sea Lion Demon King also knew Qin Feiyang and the other two's methods. The only outcome of betrayal was death. Even if he hid in Emperor Mountain, he would still die. At the same time, in a secret room, Ji Daxiong stood in front of a white-haired old man and asked with a frown, Father, what do you think we should do about this? This white-haired old man was as thin as a skeleton. His old eyes were turbid and his face was full of dry wrinkles. His eye bags were deep, and he looked like a ghost with disheveled hair. It was quite scary. This person, he was the previous city lord, Ji Daxiong's father Ji Changming. And he was in existence who had mastered 5 ultimate profound meanings of the strongest laws. He only needed one ultimate profound meaning of the strongest law to be able to master the will of the heavens, and be comparable to a demon king. Ji Changming was silent for a while and said angrily, "What else can we do? We must find a way to solve it." "I know, I'm just asking you. How can we solve this matter? Now I really have no way." Ji Daxiong was about to cry. "Isn't this all your fault? I asked you to find a way to solve this matter peacefully, but you found a few egomaniacs. Not only did you not solve this matter, but you also made our situation more dangerous." Ji Changming snorted from his nose. Yes, it's all my son's fault." Ji Daxiong nodded repeatedly. "You can't do anything right." Ji Changming glared at Ji Daxiong and stared at the ground. He said in a deep voice, "There's only one way now. Take the initiative to find Dong Hanzong and apologize." "What?" Ji Daxiong was shocked. "If we take the initiative to apologize to Dong Hanzong now, there may be room for redemption. But once Dong Hanzong comes in person, we will all die," Ji Changming said. But Ji Daxiong frowned. Ji Changming said, "You mean Dong Hanzong will take the opportunity to make us submit to him?" "Yes." Ji Daxiong nodded. Ji Changming sighed deeply and said in a hoarse voice, "Daxiong, some things are unavoidable. Dong Hanzong is now powerful. If we don't submit, we will die in his hands sooner or later." There was helplessness in his words. Ji Daxiong couldn't help but fall silent. This is the way of the world. Who asked us to be weak? How can a weak person control his own fate? Go. Be sincere. What's wrong? Blame it on these monster kings. I don't think I need to teach you this kind of thing. You should know what to do, Ji Changming said. Understood. Ji Daxiong nodded, but he was still a little hesitant. The other party was the monster king of the Kunpeng Sea region. They couldn't afford to offend him. Don't worry. As long as we really submit to Dong Hanzong, then Dong Hanzong will be our backer. Facing Dong Hanzong, even the mythical beast Kunpeng of the Kunpeng Sea region will have to give him some face. Ji Changming waved his hand with a complicated expression. No matter how hard they struggled, they couldn't escape the fate of being controlled in the end. Phew. Ji Daxiong took a deep breath and nodded. I understand. Ji Changming's eyes flashed coldly and said, in addition, those 10 consecrators have been eating and drinking in our city lord mansion for so long. We can't let them leave so easily. What do you mean? Ji Daxiong was surprised. Find a chance to get rid of them, Ji Changming said. Okay. Ji Daxiong nodded. This kind of treacherous and cowardly person indeed deserved to be killed. However, he didn't think about it. Now he went to Dong Hanzong to apologize behind Qin Feiyang and the others. Wasn't that treacherous and cowardly behavior? Hanzong City. This city was located in the northwest of the Central Dynasty. Although this Hanzong City wasn't big, in terms of reputation, it was estimated to be comparable to the top 10 super cities. Because the owner of Hanzong City was Dong Hanzong. This city was named after Dong Hanzong. Inside the city, there was an endless stream of horses and carriages. A majestic mansion stood in the center of the city, like a king. This was the city lord's mansion. Bastard, bastard. Dong Tianxiang sat on a throne in a hall, bristling with anger. The guards and maids outside could feel Dong Tianxiang's anger, and couldn't help but tremble. Swish. Suddenly, a space-time passage opened. A purple figure walked out and landed outside the hall. Greetings, young master. When the guards and maids outside the door saw this person, they couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and bowed to greet him. As long as the young master came back, then there was nothing that couldn't be solved. Go down. The purple-clothed young man waved his hand and smiled, looking amiable and approachable. After the group of guards and maids left, the purple-clothed young man entered the hall and looked at Dong Tianxiang, who was sitting on the throne in a rage, and said with a smile, Second uncle, what happened to make you so angry that you scared those maids and guards? Hanzong. Dong Tianxiang looked up at the young man and couldn't help but be shocked. He hurriedly got up and walked to the young man with a smile. You're back so soon? How would I dare to neglect your summons? I definitely had to rush back immediately. The purple-clothed young man chuckled. Brat. Dong Tianxiang rolled his eyes at the purple-clothed young man, then pulled the young man to the side of the tea table and sat down. Second uncle, what exactly happened? The purple-clothed young man was suspicious. This purple-clothed young man was none other than Dong Hanzong. Hanzong, your second uncle was humiliated. Dong Tianxiang clenched his fists and said angrily. What? Humiliated you? Who has the guts? Dong Hanzong raised his eyebrows and a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. I don't know them either. But these people are related to Ji Daxiong. Dong Tianxiang said. Ji Daxiong? Dong Hanzong was stunned. That's right. Didn't you ask me to persuade Ji Daxiong to submit to us? I went there 3 days ago. At that time he didn't agree, so I said I'll give him 3 days to consider. But today, when I brought people to Green Wind City to look for them, Ji Daxiong was already prepared. I don't know where he found helpers from, but not only did they kill the people I brought, they even told me to get out of the hall. Dong Tianxiang was burning with anger. This matter was a great humiliation. Get out. Dong Hanzong frowned. Yes. Like a ball, get out of the hall. Hanzong, ever since you became one of the 5 unparalleled geniuses, when have I, your second uncle, ever been wronged like this? You must help your second uncle vent this anger. Dong Tianxiang exclaimed. Chapter 44:38. Dong Hanzong's brows furrowed as he said in a deep voice. How dare you ask my second uncle to get out? You really don't know life from death. Who are they? What do they look like? Dong Tianxiang waved his hand, and the figures of Qin Feiyang and the other 3 appeared. Looking at Qin Feiyang, Madman and White-Eyed Wolf, Dong Hanzong's eyes flashed with a trace of suspicion. He had no impression at all. The one who humiliated me is him. He controls the will of the heavens. Dong Tianxiang pointed at the White-Eyed Wolf. The will of the heavens. Dong Hanzong's pupils shrank. Since he was a person who controlled the will of the heavens, he was definitely not an unknown person. But why did he have no impression of him? However, when he looked at the Sea Lion Demon King, he suddenly stood up, his eyes full of uncertainty. What's wrong? Dong Tianxiang was also shocked by Dong Hanzong's reaction. Dong Hanzong was silent, staring at the figure of the Sea Lion Demon King. After a long time, he slowly returned to his seat, lowered his head and seemed to be lost in thought. Hanzong, what's wrong? Dong Tianxiang was very anxious. Second uncle. Dong Hanzong slowly raised his head and looked at Dong Tianxiang. If I remember correctly, this person is the Demon King of the Kunpingxi region. Demon King. Dong Tianxiang was shocked. Yes. I once went to the Kunpingxi region to train and saw many Demon Kings, so I have some impression of them. This Demon King should be the Sea Lion Demon King. Dong Hanzong nodded. How could this be? Why is the Demon King in Qingfeng City? Shouldn't an existence like him go to the top 10 super cities? Dong Tianxiang was surprised. It turned out to be the Demon King. No wonder he dared to humiliate him and kill his men in public. This is also what I'm puzzled about. Now Qin Feiyang Madman Mo and the Golden-Winged Wolf King broke into the Kunpingxi region. Logically speaking, the Sea Lion Demon King should be on the Kunpeng Island, assisting Teacher, Kunpeng, and the Dragon God to capture them. But now why would he appear in Qingfeng City? Dong Hanzong frowned. What? Qin Feiyang Madman Mo and Golden-Winged Wolf King have all entered the Kunpingxi region. Dong Tianxiang was greatly shaken. Yes. This is the news from the Death God Army's 9th and 8th teams. Now these 2 teams have already sealed off the coastline of the Kunpingxi area. They are preparing to kill Qin Feiyang, and the other 2 in the Kunpingxi area. Dong Hanzong nodded. No way. Why didn't any of the major cities hear about such a big thing? Dong Tianxiang said. It's precisely because this matter is too important that in order to avoid causing a commotion, Lord Emperor has ordered for this news to be sealed off. But I don't think it will last long. After all, there is no such thing as an airtight wall in this world. Dong Hanzong shook her head. Dong Tianxiang said worriedly, "Then you have to be careful. They will definitely come for revenge." "Revenge? Second uncle, you think too highly of them." This time, Master has not only brought the 9th and 8th teams, but also the entire Death God army. Facing the entire Death God army, no matter how powerful Qin Feiyang and the other two are, they will only die. I believe that they will definitely die in the Kunping Sea area. They won't even have the chance to see the coastline of the Kunping Sea area. Dong Hanzong sneered. That's good. Dong Tianxiang heaved a sigh of relief and asked curiously, "How strong is the Death God army?" "Don't ask. The strength of the Death God army is beyond imagination. Some time ago, I followed Master to Emperor Capital Mountain and entered the base of the Death God army. Even I was shocked when I saw the terrifying lineup." Dong Hanzong said in awe. Dong Tianxiang was stunned when he heard this. Of course, he knew his nephew's character. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't take them seriously at all. If even he was startled by it, it was bound to be an extraordinarily frightening existence. Monster King. Dong Hanzong looked up at Qin Feiyang and the other two and said lightly, "Since the identity of the Sea Lion Monster King has been confirmed, these three should also be Monster Kings. It's just that I haven't seen them before." "4 Monster Kings. Then I can only swallow my anger." Dong Tianxiang was very unwilling. "Swallow my anger? Second uncle, you think too highly of them. If they were the divine beast Kunpeng or the dragon god, I wouldn't dare to do anything to them. But a mere monster king, I don't put them in my eyes at all. Let's go. I'll take you there and get justice for you." Dong Hanzong smiled coldly, and immediately got up to open a space-time passage. Dong Tianxiang was very excited when he heard this. "Damn things. Just wash your necks and wait for me." "Patriarch." But at this moment, a voice came from outside. Dong Tianxiang was taken aback, and turned to look outside the door. He saw a guard running in hurriedly. "Greetings, Patriarch." "Greetings, young master." The guard entered the hall and bowed respectfully in front of the two. "What's the matter?" Dong Tianxiang was suspicious. The guard said, "The city lord of Qingfeng City, Ji Daxiang, is outside asking for an audience." "Ji Daxiang?" Dong Tianxiang was slightly taken aback. He turned to look at Dong Hanzong and asked suspiciously, "What does he mean?" Dong Hanzong pondered for a while. His eyes flashed slightly. With a wave of his hand, the space-time passage disappeared. He looked at the guard and said, "Invite him in." "Yes." The guard nodded respectfully. "No." Dong Hanzong suddenly raised his hand and shouted at the guard who was leaving, "Let him in." "Get in." The guard was stunned and said in surprise, "Young master, I'm afraid this is inappropriate." "There's nothing inappropriate. If he's not willing, just ask him to get lost." Dong Hanzong said indifferently. "All right." The guard nodded and turned to leave quickly. Dong Tianxiang looked at Dong Hanzong and laughed. "Hanzong, you're really good. You're starting to vent for second uncle now. Since he dares to make second uncle angry, I will definitely not let him go." Dong Hanzong laughed. Dong Tianxiang was quite proud, and the vanity in his heart was satisfied. He asked, "Then are you sure he will roll in?" "He will." Dong Hanzong nodded. "Why?" Dong Tianxiang was suspicious. "Because he's here to beg us." The corners of Dong Hanzong's mouth lifted slightly with a hint of mockery. "Beg us? That's impossible." Previously in Green Wind City, his attitude was still very strong. Dong Tianxiang frowned. Dong Hanzong said, "Are you sure Ji Daxiang is stronger, or are you sure the 4 Monster Kings are stronger?" Dong Tianxiang was slightly stunned. After thinking carefully for a moment, when the white-eyed wolf humiliated him, Ji Daxiang did not seem to have said anything. "Second uncle, if I'm not wrong, Ji Daxiang's original plan should be to solve these problems peacefully with us. But he didn't expect the 4 demon kings to be so arrogant and conceited. They killed our people and humiliated you. Who are you? You're my second uncle. Even if it's a monster king, I Dong Hanzong am not afraid. Ji Daxiong is not stupid and can definitely think of this. So the 4 monster kings can no longer be his backing. So now he only has one path, which is to take the initiative to come to us and bring a bramble to ask for punishment. Dong Hanzong smiled. He had to admit that this Dong Hanzong's brain was indeed terrifying. All of this was not far from the truth. I see. Dong Tianxiang nodded in realization. More. The 4 monster kings will return to the Kunpengsi region sooner or later. Once the 4 monster kings leave, who will protect them? So as long as the 4 monster kings leave, with our strength, dealing with a mere Ji Daxiong is as easy as crushing an ant. All of the above factors make Ji Daxiong have to reconsider the stakes. Of course, this may be the intention of that old thing. After all, that old thing is much more shrewd than Ji Daxiong. Dong Hanzong said. You mean Ji Zhangming? Dong Tianxiang asked. Yes. Dong Hanzong nodded. Dong Tianxiang asked. Then will you forgive them? I have to ask you this. As long as you forgive them, then there is nothing for me to pursue. Anyway, they are just small fries, not worth mentioning. Dong Hanzong laughed and did not take it seriously at all. When Dong Tianxiang heard this, the corners of his mouth could not help but lift slightly. Ji Daxiong, you did not expect that you would fall into my hands so quickly. You will have a good time later. Outside the mansion, Ji Daxiong stood outside the gate, waiting anxiously. Finally, the guard returned. Brother, how is it? Ji Daxiong hurriedly greeted with a flattering smile on his face. Master and young master agreed to let you in. The guard nodded. Dong Hanzong is also here? Ji Daxiong was shocked. Presumptuous. You dare to call my young master's name directly. The guard was furious on the spot. I'm sorry, I spoke without thinking. Ji Daxiong panicked and quickly apologized. The guard snorted coldly and said lightly, Young master said that you can go in, but you have to roll in. If you don't want to leave and get lost. Roll in. Ji Daxiong's face turned pale. His body could not help but tremble. Wasn't this the same as giving him a taste of his own medicine? But at that time, the person who asked Dong Tianxiang to roll out of the hall was not him, but the 4 monster kings. If you want to settle the score, you should look for them. Who did I offend? What right do you have to humiliate me like this? You don't want to? Then get lost. The guard smiled coldly. Ji Daxiong clenched his fists, gritted his teeth and nodded. I'm willing, I'll roll in. After saying that, he suppressed his anger and humiliation, lay on the ground and rolled toward the gate. Damn it. What's the situation? Someone actually rolled into the city lord mansion? Let me see who it is. How can he do such an embarrassing thing? Outside the city lord mansion, there was a street. Although it was not the main street and was not as bustling, there were still many people who frequently passed by here. Therefore, very soon many people gathered here, their faces full of curiosity. He seems a little familiar. Wait, it seems to be him, the city lord of Green Wind City, Ji Daxiong? Yes, it's him. I've seen him in Green Wind City before. At that time, he was very awe-inspiring. Wherever he went, people would kneel down and worship him. But I didn't expect that he would roll into the city lord mansion when he came to our Hanzong city. Could it be that he offended our city lord? Offended our city lord? Don't joke, our city lord's nephew is Lord Dong Hanzong. How dare he offend him? Everyone was discussing. Hearing these discussions, Ji Daxiong's face was flushed red, and he wished he could find a hole to hide in. At the same time, he hated Qin Feiyang and the other 3 to the extreme. That's right. At this moment, he did not hate Dong Tianxiang or Dong Hanzong, but chose to hate Qin Feiyang and the other 3. Because in his opinion, the reason why he was suffering such humiliation was entirely because of Qin Feiyang and the other 3. They helped him, but they still hated Qin Feiyang and the other 3. Wasn't this a classic example of being ungrateful, repaying kindness with evil? Chapter 4439. Ji Daxiong had been humiliated and ridiculed all the way to the city lord mansion. After entering the city lord mansion, he had to face the ridicule of the guards and maids. This moment was torture for him. His pride and dignity had completely crumbled. Haha. Dong Tianxiang laughed as he watched Ji Daxiong roll to the entrance of the main hall. This laughter was particularly harsh in Ji Daxiong's ears. Crawling on your knees, Dong Hanzong said. Ji Daxiong's eyes trembled. Dong Hanzong was really here. He was the leader of the 5 unparalleled geniuses, and had mastered the ultimate profundities of the 7 strongest laws. He was basically an invincible existence in the entire Central Dynasty. Facing Dong Hanzong, he did not dare to be the slightest bit negligent. He crawled into the main hall and knelt in the middle of the hall. He bowed and said, "Greetings, Lord Hanzong. Do you know why I asked you to come in?" Dong Hanzong asked faintly. "Yes. I don't know how to appreciate your kindness." Ji Daxiong nodded fearfully. "You really don't know how to appreciate kindness. It's your honor to be able to serve me, but you actually disobeyed me. You even invited a monster king to humiliate my second uncle. May I ask who gave you the courage? Do you think a few monster kings can be your backer?" Dong Hanzong's face was full of disdain. Not to mention the monster kings, he did not even care about the monster kings of the Kunpeng Sea region. Yes. It's all my fault." Ji Daxiong nodded and begged. "Lord Hanzong, please be magnanimous and not bicker with a nobody like me. I really don't want to bicker with you, because you don't have the right. But my second uncle..." Dong Hanzong did not say anything else. The meaning of his words was quite obvious. If Dong Tianxiang wanted to be merciful, it would depend on his attitude. Ji Daxiong quickly looked at Dong Tianxiang and kowtowed. "I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Please forgive me." "Forgive?" Dong Tianxiang laughed and slowly got up. He walked in front of Ji Daxiong and raised his hand to slap Ji Daxiong's face. Half of Ji Daxiong's face was instantly lacerated. It was a heart-wrenching pain. But now he didn't dare to say it out loud. He could only endure with all his might. "Even if I kill you, it won't be enough to appease the hatred in my heart," Dong Tianxiang said ferociously as he kicked Ji Daxiong again. Ji Daxiong was about to get up. Dong Tianxiang took another step forward and stepped on Ji Daxiong's face. He sneered. "I can forgive you, but you have to do one thing." "What is it?" Ji Daxiong hurriedly asked. Not to mention one thing, he was willing to do 100 things. He only hoped that this humiliation would end soon. "Xiao Huan, come in." Dong Tianxiang retracted his foot and shouted towards the door. A pretty maid quickly walked in and bowed. "Master, come over here and stand properly." Dong Tianxiang pointed to his side. Maid Xiao Huan immediately walked to Dong Tianxiang's side. Dong Tianxiang took a few steps back and looked at Ji Daxiong, who was crawling up. "Crawl under Xiao Huan's crotch and I'll forgive you." "What?" Ji Daxiong's face instantly turned pale. Crawl under his crotch? Moreover, it was under a woman's crotch. Was there anything more shameful than this? "You think it's embarrassing?" Dong Tianxiang sneered. Ji Daxiong trembled. The humiliation of crawling under his crotch was more than embarrassing. No man in the world would do such a shameless thing. "If you don't want to crawl, then get lost. Anyway, we're preparing to go to Green Wind City." Dong Tianxiang smiled coldly. "What?" Ji Daxiong's eyes trembled. Dong Tianxiang was planning to go to Green Wind City again? Looking at Dong Hanzong's expression, was he going to go personally? Dong Hanzong said faintly, "Before you came, we had already opened the space-time tunnel to Green Wind City." Ji Daxiong was shocked. Fortunately, he came in time. Otherwise, they would have been destroyed by now. "I'll ask you one last time. Crawl or not?" Dong Tianxiang shouted angrily. "Crawl." Ji Daxiong shuddered and nodded quickly. He closed his eyes and crawled towards Maid Xiao Huan step by step. Maid Xiao Huan's cheeks were red. After all, she was still a young woman. She would definitely be embarrassed about this kind of thing. However, she did not dare to disobey Dong Tianxiang's order. Finally, Ji Daxiong endured the humiliation and crawled over. Haha. Dong Tianxiang also raised his head and laughed. This was the result of going against him. The 4 monster kings, just you wait. Soon, you will be like Ji Daxiong and suffer endless humiliation. Second uncle, are you satisfied? Dong Hanzong asked with a smile. Satisfied, very satisfied. Dong Tianxiang nodded. Ji Daxiong opened his eyes, hiding the anger in his heart, looked at Dong Hanzong and said, Lord Hanzong, can you spare me now? Dong Hanzong said, since second uncle is satisfied, then I naturally have nothing to pursue. Thank you, Lord. Ji Daxiong thanked repeatedly. Don't thank me too early. If you don't want us to find trouble with you, there is one more condition. Submit to me. Dong Hanzong said lightly. I'm willing to submit. Ji Daxiong nodded. You agreed so quickly? Dong Tianxiang was stunned and sneered. If you agreed earlier, would there be such a thing now? Yes. It's all because of my ignorance. But now I have been enlightened. From now on, I will do my best for Lord Hanzong. Ji Daxiong smiled flatteringly, looking like a standard lackey. Very good. Dong Hanzong nodded with a smile and said lightly, Tell me, how did you invite the 4 monster kings? They entered Green Wind City by themselves. I don't know why they came to Green Wind City. I received the news that they entered the city, so I asked my son to find them. My original intention was to see if this matter could be resolved peacefully. After all, they are the monster kings of the Kuanping Sea region. You might give them face, but I didn't expect them to be so arrogant and do such a thing. Ji Daxiong said regretfully. Face. They are just monster kings, I will give them face? Do they think they are Kuanping? Dong Hanzong smiled disdainfully. What else could Ji Daxiong say? He could only say yes. Now you know how naive you are. Dong Tianxiang sneered. I know. Ji Daxiong nodded. Where are they now? Dong Tianxiang asked. Ji Daxiong said. They are all placed in the backyard. Good. Take us there now. I want to see if they still dare to be arrogant when they see my nephew coming in person. Dong Tianxiang smiled coldly. Backyard. Qin Feiyang was leisurely sitting by the lake, drinking tea. The frenzy and the white-eyed wolf were naturally drinking. Of course, they weren't just drinking tea here. They were waiting for Dong Hanzong. They were already clear about Dong Hanzong's character. He would definitely come. Buzz. Suddenly, a space-time passage appeared. But the person who came was not Dong Hanzong or Dong Tianxiang, but the Sea Lion Monster King. The Sea Lion Monster King ran out of the space-time passage and ran excitedly to Qin Feiyang and the other 2. What's the matter? Why are you so happy? The 3 of them looked at him suspiciously. Good thing. The Sea Lion Monster King bared his teeth and took out an old jar. This jar had no patterns. It was completely black and looked extremely ordinary. What is it? The 3 of them were curious. This is a treasure. It wasn't easy for me to find it, and I spent a lot of money to get it. The Sea Lion Monster King bared his teeth and put the jar on the table. The white-eyed wolf looked at it curiously for a while and said suspiciously, Could it be a wine jar? The shape of this thing was indeed like a wine jar. It was the size of 2 adult palms and was tightly sealed. Don't even think about it. I specially prepared this for Qin Feiyang. The frenzy was about to open the wine jar when the Sea Lion Monster King quickly reached out and slapped the frenzy's hand away. What? And it was specially prepared for Qin Feiyang. Why are you treating him differently? The white-eyed wolf stared at the Sea Lion Monster King. If it was wine, he definitely wouldn't give it to Qin Feiyang like this. In his eyes, there was nothing in this world more tempting than wine. You don't understand. Anyway, you can't touch this thing. After the Sea Lion Monster King said, he looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. There is indeed wine in it, but it's not ordinary wine. When the time comes, I guarantee you will be surprised. Although the wine is good, don't drink too much. It's really wine. The frenzy and the white-eyed wolf were taken aback and quickly reached out to grab it. The Sea Lion Monster King grabbed the wine jar and said angrily, Are you dogs? Why are you snatching everything? Are you looking for a beating? The 2 glared at him. How could they give this wine to Qin Feiyang? Giving it to him was purely a waste. He didn't know how to drink at all. Humph. The Sea Lion Monster King snorted coldly, and came in front of Qin Feiyang. He stuffed the wine jar into Qin Feiyang's hand and said with a smile, "It's really a good thing. You must treasure it well." Qin Feiyang looked at the wine jar, and then at the sea lion monster king. He couldn't help but laugh. "I know you don't drink, but this wine is different. It's good for you. Trust me this time. When the time comes, you will definitely come to the market to see me," the sea lion monster king said solemnly. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Was it really that good? Hey, I'm just being kind. Are you still doubting me? Okay, just think of it as me worrying for nothing. I'll throw it away now. The sea lion monster king snorted and threw the wine jar into the lake. Don't. How can you throw it away? He doesn't like it, but we do. The frenzy quickly stopped the sea lion monster king and stared at the wine jar with burning eyes. The sea lion monster king said it so well. The wine inside must be extraordinary. Not for you. The sea lion monster king snorted coldly. I say, you're really looking for a beating. The white-eyed wolf suddenly became angry. I'm also doing it for your own good. You can't drink this wine. The sea lion monster king said patiently. Why can't I drink it? The white-eyed wolf frowned and said, Is it poisonous? Get lost. If it's poisonous, why would I stop you? With your addiction to wine, you would have been poisoned to death long ago. The sea lion monster king rolled his eyes. Ha! The white-eyed wolf laughed dryly. That's true. If it was really poisonous, the sea lion monster king would definitely want them to drink it. Chapter 4440. Buzz. At this moment, another space-time tunnel appeared. Familiar auras emerged one after another. Dong Hanzong. Madman's eyes narrowed. And Dong Tianxiang. Wait, why is there Ji Daxiong's aura? The white-eyed wolf frowned. Sea Lion's pupils shrank as he hurriedly put away the wine jar and stared at the space-time tunnel. Not to mention anything else, just the name Dong Hanzong was enough to make people treat him seriously. Finally, 3 figures walked out. If it wasn't Dong Hanzong, Dong Tianxiang, and Ji Daxiong, who else could it be? After not seeing each other for a while, this Dong Hanzong was more energetic than before. Madman frowned and said, Ji Daxiong, why are you with them? I have now realized my mistake. Ji Daxiong said indifferently. Realized your mistake? Madman was taken aback. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed as he said with a faint smile, So you intend to be their lackey? Don't make it sound so bad. A wise man submits to circumstances. Ji Daxiong sneered. Haha. I really admire you. Even being a lackey can make it sound so dignified. Madman laughed loudly. He was really blind to help such a thing. Ji Daxiong's face sank as he said angrily, Lord Hanzong personally came and you still don't kneel? Are you courting death? Is he qualified to make us kneel? You're a good dog. You're protecting your master so quickly, showing your loyalty. The white-eyed wolf sneered. Ji Daxiong was furious. Calling him a dog. What did he think he was? Interesting. Dong Hanzong chuckled and looked at Qin Feiyang's group of 4. This is the first time I see a monster king daring to be so arrogant in front of me. What are you? So what if I'm arrogant in front of you? The white-eyed wolf looked at him mockingly. Good. Very good. Originally, I wanted to leave some face for Kuanpeng and let you admit your mistake. But now you're all dead. Dong Hanzong's eyes flashed with killing intent. Haha. This day next year will be the anniversary of your deaths. Dong Tianxiang laughed. Shut up, trash. Don't embarrass yourself. White-eyed wolf said calmly. When Dong Tianxiang heard this, he immediately roared with hostility. Bastard, today I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. You don't have that ability. The white-eyed wolf sneered and looked at Dong Hanzong. You are quite impressive. No wonder you are the top genius of the Central Dynasty. You flatter me. Dong Hanzong smiled faintly and looked down at the 4 of them. Kill yourselves, so I don't have to do it myself. Haha. The white-eyed wolf laughed loudly. Madman was also laughing. The corners of Qin Feiyang's mouth also curled into a smile. Suicide? How could there be someone in this world with such naive thoughts? Do you still think you're some big shot? Just because he said he wanted someone to commit suicide, they had to commit suicide? It seems that you all have chosen the second path. Dong Hanzong wasn't angry and he chuckled. In my opinion, there is a third path. The white-eyed wolf sneered. What path? Let's hear it. Maybe I can give you some suggestions. Dong Hanzong crossed his arms and looked at the white-eyed wolf with a mocking gaze. Okay. The third path is to kill you. Now tell me, what good suggestions do you have? The white-eyed wolf said. Kill me? Dong Hanzong was slightly stunned and smiled. Then my suggestion is that you all should give up this unrealistic idea as soon as possible, because this is a joke, you will never have the ability to do so. Is that so? Confidence is a good thing, but too much confidence may not be a good thing. The white-eyed wolf sneered. Confidence needs capital. I, Dong Hanzong, have this capital. Let's go. Follow me to the Star River to die. After Dong Hanzong said that, he stepped out and entered the Star River without looking back. Don't run if you have the guts. Dong Tianxiang laughed and followed him into the Star River. It's all because of you that I was humiliated like this. I will only be happy when I see you all die with my own eyes. Ji Daxiong stared at Qin Feiyang and the other three with a sinister smile, and followed him into the Star River. Sigh. This is the human heart, it's too scary. The Sea Lion Beast King looked at Ji Daxiong's back and sighed. He helped him out of kindness, but in the end he got hatred and resentment. They are just a bunch of clowns. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He stepped into the clouds and entered the galaxy. The white-eyed wolf and the mad scientist looked at each other and laughed. They also flew into the sky and disappeared into the Star River. Enter the Star River? Wasn't that what they wanted? Because fighting in Green Wind City would definitely expose their identities. But it was different in the Star River. As long as they finished off Dong Hanzong quickly, they could continue to hide their whereabouts and let Dong Qingyuan, Kuanpeng, and the Dragon God think that they were still in the Kuanpeng Sea region. In the depths of the Star River, Dong Tianxiang and Ji Daxiong stood behind Dong Hanzong. One sneered and the other was full of resentment. As Qin Feiyang and the other three stepped into the Star River one after another, the atmosphere instantly became solemn. Let's do it. It's best to do it with all your strength because you only have one chance. Dong Hanzong looked at Qin Feiyang and the other three with contempt in his eyes. As he spoke, he waved to Dong Tianxiang and the mad scientist. The two understood and quickly retreated into the distance. Looking at this scene, the white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed. Whoosh! A dazzling golden light emerged. The next moment, a pair of golden wings appeared behind the white-eyed wolf. Golden wings? What kind of beast king is this? Dong Tianxiang and the mad scientist were surprised. The next moment, the white-eyed wolf spread its wings and charged at Dong Hanzong like lightning. Dong Hanzong smiled faintly and didn't take it seriously. However, just as the white-eyed wolf was about to reach Dong Hanzong, the momentary time, the will of heaven, and the ability of the golden wings were instantly activated. At that moment, his speed soared. In an instant, he passed Dong Hanzong and went straight to Dong Tianxiang. Dong Hanzong was stunned and immediately saw through the white-eyed wolf's purpose. He turned around and shouted, "How dare you!" In the face of this sudden change, Dong Tianxiang's expression changed. The idea of escaping immediately arose in his mind. But the white-eyed wolf's current speed was equivalent to 2 momentary times, and Dong Tianxiang didn't even have the most basic will of heaven. How could he escape from the white-eyed wolf's palm? In the blink of an eye, the white-eyed wolf landed in front of Dong Tianxiang and grabbed Dong Tianxiang's head. Dong Tianxiang suddenly felt a piercing murderous aura. His whole body was instantly enveloped by the aura of death. Seeing this, Ji Daxiong hurriedly retreated, his whole body covered in cold sweat. Fortunately, this monster king's target wasn't him. Otherwise he would definitely be in the same situation as Dong Tianxiang. You're courting death. Dong Hanzong gloomily stared at the white-eyed wolf. Yes. I'm courting death. No. I'm courting death. Please grant me my wish. The white-eyed wolf laughed wildly. With a slight force from his 5 fingers, Dong Tianxiang's head exploded like a watermelon on the spot. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Following closely, the white-eyed wolf grabbed Dong Tianxiang's soul again. You dare to kill me? Dong Tianxiang roared. Ignorance is terrible. The white-eyed wolf sighed deeply. Dong Hanzong stared at the white-eyed wolf and said word by word. If you dare to kill my second uncle, I swear, even if you can ascend to the heavens or enter the earth, I will not let you go. Are you doubting my courage? The corners of the white-eyed wolf's mouth lifted, and his 5 fingers suddenly retracted. Ah! With a shrill scream, Dong Tianxiang's soul was destroyed on the spot. Dong Hanzong was dumbfounded on the spot. Ji Daxiong was the same. The Sea Lion Demon King's face was also full of wry smiles. Dong Hanzong's second uncle was killed without the slightest hesitation. These guys' methods were really indescribable. At first, seeing Dong Hanzong's arrival, the Sea Lion Demon King was very nervous. Although he had also seen the methods of Qin Feiyang and the other two, it was not comprehensive. However, he had long heard of Dong Hanzong's strength, an existence known as invincible. Even if it was the mythical beast Kuanpeng, the dragon god, and Dong Qingyuan, such giants, without a peak-level dominator divine weapon, I'm afraid they would not be Dong Hanzong's opponent. Therefore, he thought that in the face of Dong Hanzong, Qin Feiyang and the other two would more or less restrain themselves. But he didn't expect them to be even more arrogant and insolent than before. That look, that attitude, they simply took Dong Hanzong seriously. I'm sorry. The white-eyed wolf's arm trembled as he looked at Dong Hanzong and said apologetically, I accidentally destroyed his divine soul. I'm really sorry, but it's also your fault. Why did you scare me? I'm a very timid person. Once I'm scared, I don't know what's important. The corner of the Sea Lion Demon King's mouth twitched. You're a timid person? Do you have any shame? If you're a timid person, then is there anyone brave in this world? You clearly killed him on purpose, but now you're blaming Dong Hanzong for scaring you. You should at least consider Dong Hanzong's mood at this moment. After all, you just killed his second uncle. Dong Hanzong clenched his fists. His face was so gloomy that it was scary. Don't look at me like that. I'm scared. I think there must be a way to remedy it now. Did he leave his divine soul in advance to save his life? The white-eyed wolf's timid appearance made Madman and Qin Feiyang not know whether to laugh or cry. With Dong Hanzong as his backer, how could Dong Tianxiang split his divine soul in advance to save his life? Wasn't this deliberately provoking Dong Hanzong? Boom. Just as expected. Hearing the white-eyed wolf's words, Dong Hanzong could no longer control the anger and killing intent in his heart. It surged out like a volcanic eruption, sweeping across millions of miles of the galaxy. See, you're here to scare me again. Unfortunately, your family is no longer here. Otherwise, they will definitely suffer again. The white-eyed wolf said innocently. You can go to hell and be buried with my second uncle. Dong Hanzong roared, his teeth bared and his eyes were bloodshot. Boom. In the next moment, the ultimate meaning of the 7 strongest laws appeared, and the will of the heavenly Tao erupted. Terrifying divine power shattered in all directions, as if doomsday had arrived. Heh. You should go to hell and reunite with your second uncle. The white-eyed wolf grinned. The golden wings shone brightly, as if a god had descended to the mortal world. At this moment, looking at the white-eyed wolf's divine power, Ji Daxiong couldn't help but feel a sense of regret. Why was he so stupid to do such a stupid thing? Chapter 44-41. Boom. The white-eyed wolf's 6 ultimates also appeared out of nowhere and blasted toward Lin Fan. Both were ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws. Naturally, there was no suspense between 7 and 6. But the white-eyed wolf, relying on its astonishing speed, it instantly appeared behind Dong Hanzong and ruthlessly slapped Dong Hanzong's back. And Dong Hanzong did not even turn his head. His face was full of contempt. Boom! The next moment, a domain appeared. It was the Qiankuan domain. Runes flashed out one after another. These runes, there were star runes, undying runes, seal runes. Star runes was the innate ability of inverse the universe. It could have the power to move the stars. Undying runes was the innate ability of the undying domain. The physical body entered an undying state. Every time it was seriously injured, its strength would increase by a bit. Seal runes was the innate ability of the sealed god domain. It had the terrifying power of sealing laws, divine power, and strength. There was also the invincible runes of the god-slaying domain, which could make the user invincible for an hour. Finally, the clear heaven domain added a layer of will of heaven. Each domain had a heaven-defying ability, but Dong Hanzong's Qiankuan domain was stronger. The strongest form of the Qiankuan domain was the ability to open 5 domains. In other words, he alone had 5 domains. The ability of 5 domains, any one of them was heaven-defying, not to mention gathering them in one body. It could be said that Dong Hanzong was indeed an invincible existence. It was no wonder that someone like Ji Daxiong would be so afraid of him. And at this moment, Dong Hanzong opened the strongest form of the Qiankuan domain, which was enough to prove his killing intent towards the white-eyed wolf. Boom! The white-eyed wolf's palm slapped Dong Hanzong's back. The invincible runes flickered. Not only did the white-eyed wolf not hurt Dong Hanzong at all, it was also hit by Dong Hanzong's backhand. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out. The white-eyed wolf was like a meteorite, flying out horizontally. Golden blood. Dong Hanzong was stunned. Ji Daxiong's eyes also widened. This demon king's blood was actually golden? Ji Daxiong was only surprised because he had never seen blood of this color, but Dong Hanzong was different. The image of a golden wolf immediately appeared in his mind. Golden wings, golden blood. It couldn't be such a coincidence. Haha, impressive. If I'm alone, I won't be your match. The white-eyed wolf cackled. Even white-eyed wolf, a person who never admitted defeat, said such words. It could be seen how terrifying Dong Hanzong's combat strength was. Brother? Dong Hanzong was taken aback. Wasn't that the golden-winged wolf king's catchphrase? You are. His eyes immediately widened in anger. Not bad. It's me, your brother. The white-eyed wolf laughed heartily. The heaven-devouring beast was born. This was the true sovereign of all beasts. Once the fighting soul appeared, all beasts would submit to it. At this moment, the sea lion demon king standing behind Qin Feiyang, and the madman couldn't help but want to kneel down. This was a sense of oppression that came from the depths of his soul. How could it be you? Dong Hanzong looked at the white-eyed wolf's fighting soul with disbelief in his eyes. There's also us. The madman cackled. A monstrous evil aura erupted. This was the aura of the source of all evil. The galaxy instantly turned into an abyss of purgatory. Every corner was filled with terrifying evil power. With a loud clang, the all-evil sword appeared with a peerless edge. This. Dong Hanzong looked at the madman with a dazed expression. When he regained his senses, he looked at Qin Feiyang next to the madman. Since the other two were Madman Mo and Golden-Winged Wolf King, then wouldn't this person be? When he thought of this, his eyes couldn't help but tremble. You didn't expect us to meet again so soon, right? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and directly activated his 3,000 incarnations. The ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, and the 6 ultimate laws appeared in the sky. The dual will of heavenly Tao erupted. The terrifying aura swallowed in all directions like a tide. How could this be? Weren't you sealed in the Kunping Sea region? Dong Hanzong was dumbfounded. He never thought that it would be these 3 people. He wasn't afraid of anyone else. Even if it was the Kunping dragon god, monarch, divine king, or the human race, he dared to say that he didn't put them in his eyes. But only Qin Feiyang, the madman, the white-eyed wolf. Facing Qin Feiyang and the other 2, he never dared to have such thoughts. Because the strength and methods of these 3 people were too terrifying. Especially the white-eyed wolf's battle soul. Not only was it the nemesis of all battle souls in the world, but it was also the nemesis of the 5 major domains. Back then, during the battle between the white-eyed wolf and Dong Xian, the white-eyed wolf used the battle soul's innate ability to swallow Dong Xian's sealed god domain. The 5 major domains had a fatal drawback. It could only be activated once a day, and could only last for half an hour each time. This drawback was a fatal crisis when facing the white-eyed wolf, because once it was swallowed by the white-eyed wolf, they would temporarily lose this powerful trump card. So now, whether it was Dong Hanzong or Dong Tianqian, they would rather fight to the death with the madman and Qin Feiyang than face the white-eyed wolf. Although the madman and Qin Feiyang were very strong, they didn't have the means to restrain their domains. The only way was to delay until the time of their domains ended. But for ingrates, if they had a disagreement, they could just devour them as easily as blowing off dust. So strong. Why are there so many clones? And these clones can all activate the ultimate meaning. Wait, that seems to be the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, the kingdom of life and death. It can't be. Could he be Lu Yuntian? But that can't be right. Lu Yuntian's Demon King true body is different from this person's clones. Ji Daxiong looked at Qin Feiyang and the 3,000 clones in shock. Dong Hanzong, this time, we won't give you another chance. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Roar. The battle soul roared and the fourth ability was activated. Dong Hanzong's universe domain suddenly left Dong Hanzong and flew towards the white-eyed wolf's battle soul. Ji Daxiong, quickly help and destroy his battle soul. Dong Hanzong roared. If the domain was swallowed, then he would completely lose the ability to resist. But at this moment, Ji Daxiong was already scared silly by Qin Feiyang and his 3,000 incarnations, tens of thousands of ultimate mysteries. Moreover, even if he wasn't scared silly, he wouldn't dare to make a move, because he hadn't even grasped the will of heaven. How would he dare to deal with the white-eyed wolf? Useless trash. Dong Hanzong was furious. However, no matter what he did, he couldn't stop the domain from leaving. He could only watch as the domain was swallowed by the white-eyed wolf's battle soul. Dong Hanzong, who had lost his domain, had a gloomy expression. With his current state, it was impossible for him to be a match for Qin Feiyang and the other two. Suddenly, he stared at the Sea Lion Demon King and said in a deep voice, "Are you the one who brought them out of Kunpengsi region?" Yes. Could the Sea Lion Demon King still quibble? Of course not, because the truth was right in front of him, so he could only bite the bullet and nod. How dare you betray our divine kingdom? Dong Hanzong shouted sternly. I had no choice, I was dragged onto the pirate ship by them. The Sea Lion Demon King's face was full of helplessness. Good. Just wait for your death. Dong Hanzong laughed angrily. He never thought that the Demon King of Kunpengsi region would help Qin Feiyang and the other two. Humph. Even if you die, you will die before me. The Sea Lion Demon King snorted. Dong Hanzong, your death is worth it. After all, there has never been anyone who could make the three of us work together and use all our trump cards. The madman laughed. The next moment, the all-evil sword, with its 21,000 ultimate profound, shattered the starry sky and charged towards Dong Hanzong. Ji Daxiong, who was not far away, was scared out of his wits by this terrifying momentum. Boom. In an instant, Dong Hanzong was drowned by the all-evil sword and the 21,000 ultimate profound. You guys can't be arrogant for long. Just you wait. Soon you will die in the hands of the Death God army. I will wait for you in hell. Dong Hanzong roared. Before his voice fell, his body and divine soul were instantly annihilated. Not even a strand of hair was left. He died just like that. Ji Daxiong looked at this scene in a daze, and a stream of water flowed out from his pants. Obviously, he was so scared that he peed his pants. Dong Hanzong was known as an invincible existence in the Central Dynasty. However, at this moment in front of these three, he didn't even have the strength to fight back. The strength of these three people was a little too terrifying, wasn't it? The Sea Lion Demon King was also shocked. The first of the 5 unparalleled geniuses actually died just like that. The Golden-Winged Wolf King. He looked at the white-eyed wolf with deep fear in his eyes. Because he could see that to be able to kill Dong Hanzong so quickly, it was all thanks to the white-eyed wolf. If it wasn't for the white-eyed wolf's battle soul that swallowed Dong Hanzong's Qingkuan domain, even if Frenzied and Qin Feiyang joined forces to fight Dong Hanzong, it would be a tough battle. Swallowing Dong Hanzong's domain. What kind of battle soul was this? It was actually powerful to such an extent. No wonder the three of them dared to sit in the City Lord mansion and wait for Dong Hanzong. No wonder the three of them didn't care about the powerful Dong Hanzong. It turned out that they had the means to restrain Dong Hanzong. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand, and the battle soul disappeared. The golden wings also retracted. Looking at the sea lion demon king, he said in disdain, "Useless guy, now you've learned something new." The sea lion demon king smiled bitterly. It was more than just learning something new. All of this was simply unheard of. Spare my life for lords. I was confused for a moment, and betrayed the four lords to find Dong Hanzong. Suddenly, Ji Daxiong ran over and knelt in the air. His face was full of pleading. The white-eyed wolf glanced at Ji Daxiong and said in contempt, "People like you, I really can't be bothered to kill you." "Thank you, Lord, for your mercy." Ji Daxiong was ecstatic. As long as he could survive, it didn't matter how much he ridiculed him. "However, you still have to die because you saw this battle." The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed with killing intent. "Don't." Ji Daxiong's happy mood instantly fell to the bottom of the valley. "It's useless. Because they are Qin Feiyang, Madman Mo, and Golden-Winged Wolf King. But you really do deserve to be killed. As a sea beast, this king knows the principle of repaying kindness with kindness and revenge with hatred. But you? A human being is actually so heartless, repaying kindness with enmity and betraying us." The sea lion demon king sneered. "What?" Ji Daxiong looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two with a dumbfounded expression. These three were Qin Feiyang, Madman Mo, and the Golden-Winged Wolf King, whose name shook the four great continents and the Central Dynasty. Now you know how stupid your actions are. If you were willing to behave and be honest, you might have gotten a chance to make a meteoric rise. Unfortunately, you have chosen a path of no return. The sea lion demon king laughed and waved his hand, directly killing Ji Daxiong. Not even his corpse remained. Chapter 44-42. In just a few seconds, Dong Hanzong, the leader of the five unparalleled geniuses, who was known as an invincible existence, had fallen in the Star River. It was almost equivalent to an instant kill. Although the truth had happened in front of him, the Sea Lion Beast King still felt that it was ridiculous. Because in his opinion, the encounter between Dong Hanzong and Qin Feiyang would definitely lead to an unprecedented battle that would shake the entire Central Dynasty. But he never thought that it would end so quickly. It was so fast that no one could react. "Let's go." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Where are we going?" The Sea Lion Beast King came back to his senses and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "If you don't remove the roots, it will grow again when the spring breeze blows." Killing intent flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. "You plan to?" The Sea Lion Beast King was surprised. "Yes. Destroy Dong Hanzong's forces." Qin Feiyang stepped out of the Star River and saw two people flying towards him. It was an old man and a young man. The young man was Ji Xiaowu, and the old man was a stooped old man. This person was Ji Changming. "Greetings, Lord." Seeing Qin Feiyang and the other three coming out of the Star River, Ji Xiaowu quickly bowed. But at the same time, Ji Changming's eyes were filled with disbelief. Why were the four of them the ones who came out of the Star River alive? Ji Xiaowu didn't know, but he knew. Because it was his idea that Ji Daxiong went to find Dong Hanzong, so when he sensed the battle fluctuations, he already knew that it must be Dong Hanzong and Qin Feiyang's group of four fighting. He thought that the ones who came out of the Star River alive would be Dong Hanzong, Dong Tianxiang, and Ji Daxiong. But he never expected that it would be the four of them. "You still dare to come to us?" Qin Feiyang looked at the two indifferently. "Ha! Lord, what do you mean?" Ji Xiaowu was surprised. Ji Xiaowu's reaction surprised Qin Feiyang's group of four. Frenzy suspiciously said, "Don't you know?" "What do I know?" Ji Xiaowu had a puzzled look. Qin Feiyang and the other three looked at each other. Looking at Ji Xiaowu, he really didn't know what Ji Daxiong was doing. The four of them then looked at Ji Zhangming. Ji Xiaowu introduced, "This is my grandfather, Ji Changming." "Grandfather, these four are the senior demon kings that I mentioned to you before." "Greetings, sirs." Ji Zhangming looked calm on the surface, but he was panicking inside. This was because he did not know what had happened in the Milky Way. He also didn't know the current situation of Dong Hanzong, Dong Tianxiang and Ji Daxiang. Actually, he had already thought about it. Since Qin Feiyang and the other two managed to walk out of the Celestial River alive, then Dong Hanzong and the other two might have already met with a mishap. However, he couldn't believe it. Who was Dong Hanzong? He was the leader of the 5 unparalleled geniuses. He had grasped the ultimate profundities of the 7 ultimate laws, and had a heaven-defying domain. With such strength, how could he die in the hands of these 4 archfiend kings? Therefore, in his heart, he held on to a sliver of hope. Dong Hanzong might not have been the one fighting in the Star River. Ji Zhongming. Qin Feiyang sized up Ji Zhongming, his eyes flickering. This person also didn't know? But it was impossible for Ji Daxiang to make such a big decision. White-eyed Wolf's eyes flashed, and he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't waste time, let's go." Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and opened a space-time tunnel. He turned around and led White-eyed Wolf and the other two away. "Sirs, where are you going?" Ji Xiaowu hurriedly called out, looking a little anxious. He who didn't know the truth still regarded Qin Feiyang and the other 3 as his saviors. However, Qin Feiyang and the other 3 didn't answer, and entered the space-time tunnel without looking back. "What's going on?" Ji Xiaowu frowned. "Let's go to the Star River and have a look." Ji Zhongming watched Qin Feiyang and the other 3 leave, then looked at the Star River and said in a deep voice. The grandfather and grandson rushed into the Star River, and when they saw the shattered Star River, their faces were filled with shock. Who were they fighting with before? Ji Xiaowu murmured. Dong Hanzong. Ji Zhongming clenched his hands together and no longer hid the anger in his heart. Dong Hanzong. Ji Xiaowu's eyes trembled. That's right. I've seen Dong Hanzong before, and there are remnants of his aura here. Ji Zhongming said gloomily, and then released his divine sense, covering the sky and earth. Soon, his body suddenly trembled, and he said in a deep voice, "There's also the aura of Dong Tianxiang in your father." What? Ji Xiaowu's face changed, and he also quickly released his divine sense. Sure enough, he caught the remnant aura of Dong Tianxiang and his father in the shattered Star River. How did this happen? This Dong Hanzong is too much. He killed my father. Ji Xiaowu was furious, his eyes filled with anger. Ji Zhongming clenched his hands together and suddenly turned to look at Ji Xiaowu with red eyes. "Xiaowu, the one who killed your father is not Dong Hanzong." Ha! Ji Xiaowu turned to look at Ji Zhongming. Who else could it be other than Dong Hanzong? The 4 monster kings. Ji Zhongming roared. What? How could it be them? Ji Xiaowu's eyes were filled with disbelief. It's my fault. I asked your father to go to Dong Hanzong and ask for forgiveness. Ji Zhongming closed his eyes in pain and briefly explained the matter. So that's how it is. Grandfather, why did you do this? They came to help us out of kindness. What's the difference between this and repaying kindness with enmity? Even if you don't believe them, just let them leave the city lord's mansion. Why do you have to harm them? Ji Xiaowu's body panicked and he felt a little dizzy. He then held his forehead and stared at Ji Zhongming angrily. Xiaowu, I'm sorry. Ji Zhongming's face was full of self-blame as he lowered his head and said, I really didn't expect them to be so strong. Even Dong Hanzong is not their opponent, no. Dong Hanzong might have already died in their hands. Dong Hanzong died in their hands. Ji Xiaowu's body and mind trembled as he scanned the Star River. Although he didn't see it with his own eyes, it was indeed a possibility. Ji Zhongming said gloomily, no matter what, your father must have died in the hands of the 4 monster kings. This grudge, we have to take revenge. Revenge? When we met them before, why didn't you say revenge? Ji Xiaowu laughed at himself. The 4 monster kings could even kill Dong Hanzong, let alone the 2 of them. They're so strong, how could I dare to say it? I can only pretend that I don't know anything. Ji Zhongming cried out in grief. You also know that they're very strong. Then what revenge are you talking about? Isn't taking revenge on them the same as seeking death? Ji Xiaowu said. His whole person instantly fell to the extreme. We indeed don't have the strength, but it doesn't mean that there's no other way. Dong Hanzong is highly regarded by the emperor, As long as we tell the emperor about this, the 4 monster kings will definitely die. Ji Zhongming sneered. Grandfather? Ji Xiaowu looked at Ji Zhongming in shock and asked, You've already repaid kindness with enmity, do you want to do it a second time? Then we can't let your father die in vain, Ji Zhongming said angrily. Father's death is all your fault. If you didn't ask father to find Dong Hanzong, would he die now? Grandfather, I'm not blaming you. Grandson just wants to tell you that now we've learned our lesson. We can't continue to make mistakes. Ji Xiaowu exclaimed. Shut up. Ji Zhongming shouted angrily and gloomily said. No matter what, I'll make them pay with blood. Ji Xiaowu said angrily. Grandfather, you're unreasonable. It's really unreasonable. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Ji Zhongming's face changed and hurriedly turned to look behind, only to see 4 figures appear in the originally empty void. If it wasn't Qin Feiyang and the other 3, who else could it be? You guys. Ji Zhongming's eyes trembled and his face was full of fear. Do you want to ask why we're behind you when we've already left? Because we've never left at all. We just want to see if this is Ji Daxiong's idea alone, or if someone instigated it behind the scenes. The white-eyed wolf sneered. For lords, please show mercy. Hearing this, Ji Zhongming hurriedly knelt in the void, terrified. You're not as sensible as your grandson Ji Xiaowu at your age. Because he knows the basics of being grateful. The white-eyed wolf said. Ji Zhongming kowtowed and cried. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Please be merciful and give me a way out. We'll give you a way out, but have you ever thought about giving us a way out? The white-eyed wolf sneered and landed in front of Ji Zhongming with a palm. Lord, please spare my life. Ji Xiaowu's face changed and hurriedly stood in front of Ji Zhongming. The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows and shouted, Get out of the way! No. He's my grandfather. I can't leave him to die. I beg the 4 lords, please give him another chance. I promise that we won't mention this matter again. Ji Xiaowu knelt and looked at the 4 of them pleadingly. You're very sensible and filial. But the world is so cruel. If we don't kill him today, he'll harm us tomorrow. He can only blame himself for this. The white-eyed wolf pushed Ji Xiaowu away, and the power of law appeared in his palm as he slapped at Ji Zhongming's head. No. Ji Xiaowu roared. This old man can't sit still and wait for death. Ji Zhongming also let out a fierce roar and retreated explosively. 5 ultimate profundities of supreme laws appeared, and he madly attacked the ingrate. At the same time, he opened a space-time passage and prepared to escape. You don't even have the will of the heavenly Tao, and you dare to be so presumptuous? The white-eyed wolf snorted. The ultimate law of death, the 18 layers of hell, appeared and the will of the heavenly Tao erupted. Just one ultimate law of death was enough to destroy Ji Zhongming's 5 ultimate laws without any resistance. This was the terrifying part of the will of the heavenly Tao. Those who had the will of the heavenly Tao, and those who didn't were 2 completely different people. Following that, Ji Zhongming let out a shrill scream and died on the spot. His body and soul were destroyed. Grandfather. Ji Xiaowu was paralyzed in the void, his face full of despair and his body exuding a desolate aura. However, in just a short while he had lost his father and grandfather. For someone of his age, it was undoubtedly a fatal blow. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.